Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon and I, we were planning on talking about the NBA draft again today, but the offseason started early and a lot of teams decided to re-sign players. A lot of action has already occurred on the trade market. We're going to dive deep into everything that has occurred over the last 48-ish hours, 36 hours, really, from James Harden re-signing to the Rockets getting done with like basically all of their business, it seems like, outside of maybe one thing, to the LeBron opt-in, but the weirdness around it. We'll get through all of it, but first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this gonna be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you? I was excited to talk NBA draft, storyline, superlatives, whatever we were going to do. And as we have mentioned before, the NBA calendar does not stop. It just keeps turning. We have already forgotten about the 2025 NBA draft. We'll check back in on that in, a week or so with NBA Summer League. It is NBA free agency time already.
It's absolutely right. We were planning on doing like NBA draft superlatives on this episode. And then the offseason broke. And I have answers to all of the 11 questions that I had about the NBA draft. We're going to save that for next week. It feels like that's going to be like perfect leading into Summer League at this point going into that. Okay. I went like to hit golf balls at the simulator this morning. I was like, okay, we're in a good spot. Bryce can't record until later today. Like, I'll be able to go do this. Like, we're fine. You know what I mean? And then all of it happens. Everything gets rolling. Jabari Smith signs an extension. Everything seems like it's happening so fast right now. And I'm like wondering, is the offseason going to be like really quick here? You know what I mean? Like, is this thing going to happen over the next like 48 hours and we're going to be kind of...
Well, it can't, Sam, because nobody has been talking, right? Because we know that nobody's been talking with anybody outside that they're allowed to talk with. So nothing is going to happen tomorrow right at the start of the legal tampering period, because that's the first time that everybody will begin talking to each other outside of their conversation. Because all of these guys signed with their own teams, having no clue what their market might be if they, made themselves available. So, all right, that's the only time I'll do that. It does seem some of these guys are going to come off though. Like, I know it's not the most sexy free agent class, but surely there's going to be some moves made. I know there's not a ton of cap space out there, but there's still, non-tax MLEs and tax, all of that. So I would assume we get some action tomorrow at, 6 p.m. Eastern?
We will get it, I think, pretty early. Yeah. I think we're going to get a lot of good stuff here early. I'm excited to kind of dig into all of it, but there's so much that's happened already. Let's just dig in.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the Rockets here first, because the Rockets have kind of cleaned house. It feels like their offseason is over, except for maybe one thing. They have re-signed Fred VanVleet to a 2-year, $50 million deal. They have re-signed Steven Adams to a 3-year, $39 million deal. They have brought back all of Jae'Sean Tate, Aaron Holiday, Jeff Green. They have done the Kevin Durant deal for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, a first rounder at number 10 overall, and 5 second-round picks. Then right before we started to go live like an hour ago, we get the Jabari Smith extension news. 5 years, $122 million. I want to start there before we dig into all of the other stuff. This one's going to be by far our longest conversation because we love the Houston Rockets here. If there's anything that we love on the show and that we talk about more than any other team, it's the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, someone tried to tell me that we were the Day'Ron Sharp propaganda podcast. I'm like, no, we're the Houston Rockets, Portland Trailblazers propaganda podcast, if anything. We did 50 minutes on the Utah Jazz. Don't give me that we only have propaganda about certain teams. Or no, there are some teams. There are some. And the Rockets are one. Rightfully so.
The Rockets are a team that we end up just talking about all the time. So Jabari Smith signs a 5-year, $122 million contract extension. And I think this deal is just one that makes sense across the board for everybody. What was the number we came up with? Like if he was willing to do, we said, I think for 100, then we would be into that when we did the Rockets preview.
I assume somebody will be able to tell us for sure. I know somebody tweeted at us that was this was roughly the number. I feel like we usually deal in terms of 4 years. So my guess is we were somewhere between 80 to 100. So we were either maybe a little lower, maybe a little higher, but right in this range. I do want to talk about the 5-year aspect of it and get your thoughts on that. Because that was the thing that struck me a little bit, Sam. And I'm trying to work through how I feel about getting a 5-year contract to a player on their rookie extension that's not a max guy, right? Like you give Cade Cunningham 5 years, you give Paolo 5 years, you give Franz 5 years. For someone like Jabari, do you like the idea of giving 5? Would you rather it be 4 if you're the team? What are your thoughts on that?
You'd certainly rather it be 4, I think. But here's why to me this makes sense. Because one of the things that we talked about in the offseason preview with the Rockets was with Jabari particularly, this is a player that you can very easily see thinking that he has like significant upside moving forward. He was a number 3 overall pick. He has averaged in double figures every single season. He is still like, he just turned 22 in May. He is incredibly young. He entered the NBA as one of the youngest players in the league. And physically, like you can see it a lot of the time, right? Like he's just getting to the point where I think he's growing into his frame, which is really what he desperately needs because he is somebody that doesn't handle the ball well. There are flaws here with Jabari Smith. Like nobody is going to deny that. He is a flawed basketball player right now. Having said that, this year, he averaged 12.2 points a game, 7 rebounds. He consistently makes shots from the perimeter at 6'10" to 6'11", somewhere in that ballpark. I think that this is a team that generally has not been all that well spaced since he's been there. I think that getting Kevin Durant into the mix is going to help their spacing really, effectively, much more so than what Jalen Green was able to bring. And I think this is just what this number was always going to be. Defensively, he has moments where it's an issue. Like he can be a little bit upright defensively on the ball. Off the ball, he does have moments where he will like be a little bit late rotating around the court. But again, this is a dude that like clearly gives a shit. That's always been my thing with Jabari Smith. Like you talk to anybody kind of around him and around the situation. Yes, there are limitations for sure. But this dude's a 3-and-D big that like cares about winning basketball games. Like he wants to be competitive. From the moment that he was a rookie there, he has always wanted to be extremely like competitive and has wanted to win. And that's a huge value for a guy that's maybe slightly rolling into becoming a super high-end role player, right? That might be what he becomes, right? There's still a chance that he's a little bit more than that. Like, I don't want to reduce him beyond what he's capable of, but he might be more of a 5th starter, which is what this money is, right? It's like really 5th starter money. And to answer your question on the 5th year, right? I think that if I was Jabari Smith with this contract, I would want to lock in as much money guaranteed as humanly possible, be it over 4 years or 5 years, whatever it is, right? My goal would be the top end number of guaranteed money. Because if I go and I, for whatever reason, don't play well next year, I don't think that's going to happen with Jabari. I think he's at least going to be like a really good role player. But if I go in and for whatever reason, like it's just not meshing with Kevin Durant and Amen Thompson has completely like taken over my role and this, that, and the other thing. And Tari Eason's taken a leap, right? They have so many talented guys that I would just really want to make sure that when I've got a chance to sign a deal this summer, I want to lock in the highest number possible so that if it's 5 years, great. But I want to make sure I've made 9 figures. I want to make sure I've made $150 million over the course of my career, because I don't necessarily know what my role in the offense is going to be next year. I don't know how involved I'm going to be. I know I'm going to be on a winning team, which is what I've wanted, but I don't know what my role is going to be necessarily. I don't know what the counting stats are going to look like. So I want the highest end number. And if it takes 5 years for me to get over that 120 marker, I'm good with that. And if I'm the Rockets, if it takes 5 years for me to get a deal done with Jabari Smith, who is a player that I think has like immense flexibility for them in terms of lineup constructions, and is like really important to them being able to match up with Oklahoma City at some point, being able to match up, with Denver in terms of size, playing bigger lineups at some point. I want to make sure I lock that in and get that done. And this is a number where I think everybody has upside. I think that, if Jabari doesn't end up being what he thinks he's capable of, locking in at 122 is a huge upside move for him. But if he takes another leap as he gets stronger and just can like use his shoulder to bump and then get to that mid-range jumper basically whenever he wants, which I think is a real potential outcome here, then this has real upside for the Rockets too. Like it's just, to me, this is like the perfect middle ground for everybody, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a fine number. I think I just found myself going 4 years would have been something from the team side I would have liked a little bit more, just because we know how. Let's play devil's advocate, right? Worst case scenario, Jabari, just like we've seen the best, right? Or there's even slight regression for whatever reason. And it's like, okay, well, in 2 years, it's going to be hard to trade that potentially, right? Because it's still going to be $90 million left on it. Over 4 years, as opposed to if it's only a 4-year deal. I don't know. I haven't completely workshopped it. It just was like, that was the part that kind of took me a little by surprise. The more I thought about it, because at first it seemed like a big number, but the more I thought about it and you think about what the AAV is going to be, as you said, I think this probably is 4th or 5th starter. Now, if he ends up being like the 4th best player on their team, I think this is a really good contract. If he's the 5th starter, it's fine. If he's the 6th man, like if eventually you have to move him to the bench because you need something different because of whatever, like you're probably still okay with it. I don't think it's a value contract. It's probably okay. And then if he just like doesn't improve, right? Like ultimately a lot of these rookie scale deals that aren't the true maxes, that aren't the Cades, the Paulos, the, whatever, there's a little bit of projection. And so to me, my first thought when I saw this, I'm interested to see if you thought this as well, is Jabari's starting next year. Like Jabari Smith Jr. is the starter for the Houston Rockets in a lineup that is Fred VanVleet, Amin Thompson, Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith Jr., Alperen Şengün. Is that where your mind went when you saw this number, or no?
That's where my mind went. I think he's starting because they went 2 for 1 in the starting lineup to get KD, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So you open up a spot in the starting lineup. I think that Jabari Smith probably starts.
Okay.
If you made me bet, I would guess that it's going to be exactly what you said. Fred and Amin in the backcourt, KD, Jabari, and Şengün in the front court.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense to me. And here's the thing. That lineup, to me, has a much better chance of mitigating Jabari's downsides as a ball handler, as a decision maker, things like that, than what it was when it was Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green.
He doesn't have to make decisions, Sam. It's Jabari in that lineup. All he has to do is stand in the corner, knock down shots, rebound, and be a really good defender.
Exactly right. And he's going to be, I think, very good at that. And the other thing too, I will say is like, I think he's gotten like a little bit better at attacking closeouts. It has to be in a straight line. It has to be, him just getting to like a specific spot, right? It's not like he's driving and kicking. It's not like he's making all these crazy reads and everything, right? I just think he's gotten a little bit better at where he's like, okay, someone's closing out on me heavily. I am taking 2 dribbles and getting to a pull-up, or I'm taking 2 dribbles and making the super easy pass, right?
Yep. Yeah, and that's what he's got to do, because that starting lineup is gonna create those opportunities for him. I am with you. Like Jabari Smith Jr. pre-NBA shot making was unbelievable. Like the film was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was silly stuff. And it hasn't exactly translated at the highest of like the level that you would want yet, but I still think it's going to be there. And I think ultimately that's what has to continue to grow. The rebounding has been fine. The defense is maybe not as good as maybe I thought it was going to be, but I still think it's good. He's got to be upper 30s 3-point shooter.
I'm just cracking up. Jabari taking a third dribble was maybe the worst play in the NBA last year from Sadolphus. I agree. You got to keep him to 2.
Yeah.
It's 2 dribbles, pick it up, shoot, or pass. That's it. That's what he's got. But to your point on making open shots this year, right? 38% off the catch this past season on 3 attempts per game. No, sorry. That's way fewer. He was 38% on nearly 4.5 attempts per game. And on unguarded shots, he hit 40% from 3 last year. If he gets unguarded threes, he's going to drill them. Like, I think that this is a completely reasonable contract. And the best way that I could frame this is that in 2 years, Jabari Smith is still going to be 24 years old with 4 years and God knows how much money left on this contract. I don't know how they're structuring it necessarily. Is it going to be, even money throughout, descending, ascending, whatever? He then have 4 years and let's call it 97 million or something on this deal remaining. That's such a tradable contract. I think there are so many teams that would take a bet on a 24-year-old who's 6'10" and can shoot like this and has like real defensive swing upside.
And for people who I know like percentage of the cap stuff, I'm just looking at Spot Track and they have it at 21 million and 26, 27 and then ascending. And it's essentially 12% of the cap throughout the life of the deal. So, I mean, we're not, what's the non-tax MLE? That's like 9% of the tax or of the cap or something like that. So he's only a touch above what the non-tax MLE is going to be moving forward. Yeah. So, I mean, and again, I just throw those numbers out to help people understand why it's helping me understand as well, right? Like we're all having to adjust to these numbers as the salary cap is going up. And sometimes I throw out those numbers to help me kind of see it and visualize it and understand it also.
The other 2 moves that we haven't talked about, since the Rockets have done these, we talked about the Kevin Durant move, obviously, but the thing we haven't talked about are Fred VanVleet doing 250 and Steven Adams doing 339. I mean, first and foremost, like shout out the Rockets fans that yelled at me when I said I thought it was going to be like 390 to 300. I mean, you guys were right. Fred ended up being, I thought that he would end up having enough of a market to where something a little bit more substantial than 225 or 250, 25 per was going to be doable. And I was wrong. I thought that, I was very clearly wrong about that. I know that Fred didn't have like his best shooting year, like very clearly, but he's still an awesome basketball player. And we saw it in the playoffs, right? Like he was their best backcourt player in the playoffs by far, realistically. 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 43, 44, 100 from the line, didn't get to the line crazy amount of times. But in the regular season, obviously shot 38, 35% from 3 and 80% from the line. The thing is, though, still, they are so much better of a team when he's on the court because he's really good at communicating on defense. He's really good at fighting over screens. He makes life for everybody on the court easier because he makes very quick decisions on the court. So, yeah, I think that Fred, this is a home run deal for Fred VanVleet too, getting him on 250.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a really good deal for the Rockets, right? Because the number was, what was the number before this? 40 something, right?
It was like 46. Yeah, he was never going to be on that deal.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, essentially, they took 46 and just spread it out over 2 years. I mean, that's ended up being a really good situation for Houston. And, this is why those club options, we'll talk about those later with the Oklahoma City Thunder. When you go to Spot Track, if you see red, that means club option. And you'll see some teams that have a whole lot of those and use them a lot in negotiations. This ended up playing out well for Houston. I feel like for the most part, they've gotten out of Fred what they wanted, right? Like what they signed up for.
Oh, completely.
And then now you get him on what I think is a very reasonable deal. I will say, I saw some of the comments like whenever you threw out the 30 per year, and people were saying like, oh, he's a non-tax MLE guy. Like, I mean, it was just very like it swung.
He was always more than that.
Yeah,
like,
that's
Fred VanVleet on any impact metric the last 5 years of his career. Plus 2.9 EPM, 7.6 wins. 2021 plus 3.8 EPM, 8.8 wins. 2022 plus 3.4 EPM, 11 wins. Again, 2023 plus 3.4 EPM, 11 wins. First year in Houston, 2024 plus 3.8 EPM, 12 and a half wins. And even last year, in what people saw as a down year, plus 2.8 EPM, worth 8.4 wins in 60 games. Like, say whatever you will about the shooting. I'm not going to sit here and deny the fact that he had a poor shooting year last year. It's just that everything else that he does is so valuable. The fact that he limits turnovers in such a significant way is so valuable to what you do. I think that he is a really exceptionally valuable player for this team, especially with Kevin Durant coming in, knowing that Kevin Durant's going to need the ball in certain spots.
Yeah, I mean, I think his load offensively is actually going to go down now. Like, you can just trust Kevin Durant's going to make plays. Amin is only going to take more and more usage. Ideally, for this team, Reid Shepard is able to take on some usage in year 2. Not saying those guys are going to play together. You probably aren't going to do that. But just in terms of the minutes load and all of that. And as you mentioned, we saw in the playoffs when he is making shots, it looked pretty good. Like that, some of their best minutes were when Fred was knocking down threes. And it's a 2-year deal. I think this is an awesome deal. Like, at the end of the day, whatever we predicted, whatever, anybody else, I think ultimately once we see the numbers, and we talk about this all the time, we love just analyzing things that have actually happened. Seeing this, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That's awesome for Houston. Fred locks in $50 million there. And he's on a team that's going to compete for a title. Like, I mean, they're not the favorites, obviously, but they're going to be a team that's mentioned whenever you talk about, hey, who's a dark horse in the West, or who may compete in the West, who could surprise. Houston's going to be a fun name to bring up and talk about.
I do think we talked about the Steven Adams deal, but again, just to note, getting Steven Adams at just like slightly below the mid-level, it's a home run.
And descending contract for Steven Adams.
Yeah, like this is absolutely a home run across the board for this to happen. If he hit the market, he was getting the full mid-level from somebody. Like there's zero questions asked here. If he hits the market, given the way he played in the playoffs, he was getting the full mid-level from somebody. He was fantastic in the playoffs. He gives them, again, such a significant value add in terms of lineup structure that they now have figured out how to play this Alperin at the 4, Steven Adams at the 5, zone defense lineup. And do you know what makes it easier to play zone defense now, Bryce? Having a 7-foot dude with a 7'5" wingspan on the back line who's flying around with his length, being able to cover all the ground in the world in Kevin Durant. And then do you know what else makes it easier?
Amin Thompson up top or wherever you want to play him. I was going to say,
correct,
between Amin, Kevin Durant, and Jabari, and just think if you got a lineup with somehow if you could get Tari out there as well, like if you wanted to play small or something, or I don't know, play Amin as the point and then KD at the 2 or something. Like there's a lot of really fun lineup construction. This is why we're going to talk about Houston all the time this offseason. Can I throw out one thing real quick on the lineup side? I do wonder if they need one more player, because like I love the starting lineup. Let's go all in on Reid Shepard.
Do you want guard or like wing?
I think it's a wing, because you have Reid, you have Tari, you have Steven Adams. Who's my 9th guy? Like, is it Cam? Is it somebody else? Like, am I crazy here for feeling like all of a sudden a team who we always talked about depth, I want to know who the 9th and 10th guy, the 10th guy for the regular season, not as much the playoffs, but I wouldn't mind having another wing that I really believe in. I hope it's Cam, for just like, I loved Cam Whitmore, in that class. But if it's not, then do they make a move for one? Is there a name? Like, do you agree with me at all? Like, do you see what I'm seeing here?
So I agree with you, and that's why Jake Fisher is connected Dorian Finney-Smith with Houston.
Makes sense.
Makes a ton of sense. Like, they're able to get him on like a 330 deal, something like that gets him locked in at double what his guaranteed value was by declining that option. They still have the full mid-level to spend, by the way. So like they can do more than that if they want to, but this is just a home run. This is the easiest choice in the world to me to go get Dorian Finney-Smith if I'm them. I think that they feel full confidence in Reid Shepherd to be able to step in and be the point guard. That's my understanding of where they're at on this. I would expect that that's what it's going to be. Is going to be something like Reid Shepherd there is the backup point guard. And still they have Aaron Holiday, right?
Yeah, I like
this. This is why taking care of guys, giving Aaron Holiday $5 million last year instead of the minimum, which is probably what he was worth going into last year if he didn't leave Houston, right? Taking care of guys matters. And we'll talk about it with Oklahoma City later, but if you take care of guys, they're always going to really have faith in you organizationally. They're going to continue to take care of you. So, Aaron Holiday is a perfect third guard to have around in case the Reid situation doesn't work out. Yep. So I love everything that they've done here to be able to not only give themselves lineup flexibility with going big with Jabari Smith at the 4, Kevin Durant at the 3, Şengün at the 5, or you can go supersized with Kevin Durant at the 3, Steven Adams at the 5, Alperen at the 4. You can go super small. You can go KD at the 4 and Jabari at the 5 if you want to, in lineups where you need to be able to do that. You can go Tari at the 3 if you want to. Tari Easton's still on this roster, and I would assume we're going to get an extension for him at some point, right? This is as good as you can do it, I think. They, to me, are very clearly right now my number 2 team in the West.
Sure.
I will just say that up front. We'll see what some of these other teams do. It's totally possible that it changes. And by the way, they do have one more thing here from Bruin. Shout out for the super chat. Love the show. You guys are the best. Where do you stand on Cam Whitmore since you're high eval on him? Still high on him, or does he need a new team? Look, I fucked up the Whitmore eval just like 100%. Like, I'll say that. Just in terms of having him as high as I did, in terms of the upside, I wouldn't have him that high at this point. I would have him based off of the way that I eval now versus the way I evaled in 2023. I would have probably had Cam more at like 8 to 10, I would say. I really believe in the upside. I really believe in the athleticism. I really believe in just the physicality and the strength he possesses. I don't think we're going to see it in Houston, which I would imagine is probably why, it seems like there's some traction, based off of reports for a trade here. And if I was another team, I would absolutely take a flyer on this. Like, I no question to ask. Like, if I was a rebuilding team, if I was Brooklyn, I'm absolutely doing this. Like, this is a no-brainer to me. If I'm Brooklyn, like, I'm giving up, whatever the best second round pick I have is to get Cam Whitmore, and I feel great about it.
Yeah, I agree. He probably doesn't need to go to another team that's competing right now. It seems like he needs some leash to grow and figure things out. It doesn't mean he just gets freedom. Obviously you still coach him up and harness him and all of that. I still believe in the scoring potential. Like, I still believe he's going to be able to score the basketball. Listen, I know like all of the assist percentage stuff, like the analytics people will tell you he was never going to make it because it was the lowest assist percentage in the history of the world and all of that. And like, fine. The dude
honestly, I will say, like, that's probably where I fucked it up on
Sure.
the eval. Like, I thought that the feel was slightly better than what or I thought the feel had a chance to be slightly better than what it is.
Yeah. And I think I remember having this conversation with somebody. Let me look up real quick. Yeah, he averaged a steal and a half. So then it was like, okay, well, it isn't defensive disruption? Isn't there some feel and anticipation and stuff to that? And I think, to your point, I think I would watch Cam Whitmore because all I had people do was throw in my face, well, he never passes. He doesn't know how to pass. He doesn't read the floor. And so I would just look for, well, like, no, he passed the ball there. His teammate just missed the shot. He passed the ball there.
Do you know,
it's
a
little bit
that problem was here,
it's what I did with Ace Bailey this year as well. Maybe this is going to be a lesson for me to learn. Yeah.
The real problem here was he played for Kyle Neptune, and I just know how bad Neptune is and was as a coach. And I was like, oh yeah, this is the Neptune like issue. It's not a Cam Whitmore issue. Like, it's a Kyle Neptune issue.
Yeah.
And I think to some extent I've been proven right there, because every time Cam Whitmore plays, he is productive at the very least. But yeah, look, the Rockets are very clearly contending at like the highest level of the Western Conference now. I think Cam needs a little bit more time than that, frankly. And I think it would make sense for him to get to a different team.
My hope is the eval being wrong was he shouldn't have been that high because he was going to be a second team guy, where I thought he'd be able to come in, score the basketball at a high level, and develop the defense as he goes. He may need that second team, which means for Houston, well, I guess they ended up taking him at 20, but anybody taking him where I had him ranked would have been a awful, awful selection. And Houston, has expedited this thing, and he just has too many defensive lapses, I think, for Ime to truly trust him. So send him somewhere else, continue to be coached up, and grow and improve. I'm not selling all of my stock, but as you mentioned, like obviously there was some holes in the eval that you learned from.
Yeah, I still think he's going to be like a useful NBA player for sure. And I think he's going to be very productive as an NBA player. It's just, how does it impact winning? How does it do a number of different things?
Yeah.
Shout out to our friends over at Trade Coffee. Whether you're gearing up for back-to-back meetings, shuttling kids back and forth to activities, or tackling an endless to-do list, your morning sets the tone for it all. That's why it should start with the perfect cup of coffee, crafted just for you. Enter Trade Coffee. Trade is the #1 U.S. coffee destination, bringing you fresh coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Trade's experts have taste tested thousands of coffees to curate over 450 amazing roasts. Whether you're new to coffee or you know your favorites, they're going to handpick the perfect coffee just for you, even cold brew for those hot summer days. Just take their quiz, and in under a minute, they'll match you with your perfect coffee. If that first bag isn't quite right, Trade will replace it for free until they nail it. Trade's prices are on par with grocery store brands, but the quality is just absolutely next level. Plus, you're supporting local roasters, which makes it a win for everybody in the coffee ecosystem. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/game. That's drinktrade, TRADE.com/game for 50% off your 1-month trial. That's drinktrade.com/game. Coffee's important, guys. Make sure you get the right coffee in your system. This time of year, especially, because my God, this next week is going to be wild. Okay, Bryce, the next thing I want to get to is this weird ass LeBron thing that occurred that I truly don't even know what to make like heads or tails of it. So he opts in, right? Makes total sense that LeBron opts into this $52 million. He could have opted out and gotten like $54 million if he had wanted to. But here's the thing about opting out. Opting out and then re-signing makes it so that he is untradeable up until January or December. I can't remember which one. Mid-December, mid-January, something like that. By opting in, what he does is that he gives himself increased flexibility and gives the Lakers increased flexibility as they both move forward here. Now, him just opting in would make perfect sense, right? Like, LeBron opts in, everything's cool. He's giving the Lakers a slight discount, whatever, right? Normal things happening normally. Then Rich Paul gives Shams a quote. And of course, they can't do things totally normally here.
It is LeBron.
LeBron wants to compete for a championship, Paul told ESPN. He knows the Lakers are building for the future. He understands that, but he values a realistic chance at winning it all. We are very appreciative of the partnership that we've had for 8 years with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, and consider the Lakers a critical part of his career. We understand the difficulty in winning now while preparing for the future. We do want to evaluate what's best for LeBron at this stage in his life and career. He wants to make every season he has left count. The Lakers understand that, are supportive, and want what's best for him. Just don't say anything is the easiest answer, right, Bryce? Like,
I mean,
you can just not say anything.
We've gotten 20 years of this. We know better. And to be clear, it's been 20 years of maybe the greatest basketball career ever. But I'm not surprised. I didn't even need to read the quote. Like, I literally saw LeBron opts in, but what's this quote? And you just like, oh, something cryptic about him maybe wanting to be traded. And sure enough, Chris texts me 30 minutes later, where do you think LeBron's going? And I'm like, yep, here we go. It's good for the NBA, Sam. Maybe LeBron's just doing it for the NBA, right? To drive content.
Sure. So like, and to like stay in the conversation himself on some level, probably too, right? So, okay. I want to at least discuss a little bit what the options are.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to start this conversation by saying I think that he's just staying in LA. Point blank. Like, that's my read. I think that he just stays in LA. Maybe there are options out there, but the problem with all of this is there are very few teams that can actually do this with LeBron. Like, there are very few teams that can actually swing a LeBron deal where they maintain being competitive and he continues to like make $52 million, right?
Real quick, like the fact that he's LeBron James and the quote, like, so here's the standard, Sam. You have to be better than the current Lakers, right? Like that's essentially what that quote says is we don't think, I'm reading between the lines, that they're competing for a championship this year. So you have to give us a better chance to compete for a championship this season than the Lakers. So if you aren't a team that has that on its roster after trading for LeBron, you're automatically out of the equation. How many teams does that immediately eliminate? 20?
Yeah, at least.
And he's not going to the champs, so the Thunder are out. So like there's another team. You take away the Pacers and the Celtics and these teams that have injuries. Okay,
so
no, we're not going to take
Pacers.
We're not going to take out the Pacers
real quick at least.
What are you going to do? He's not going to go there because you think Tyrese is going to come back at the end of the year.
I don't know. I'm just like kind of thinking about it a little bit. I'm just saying like I took
LeBron
a second to think about
in a small market next season, like in Indiana, would be it just I guess Cleveland. So, but that's home. He's not going to Indiana, right?
I don't think he's going to Indiana.
I have no disrespect to Indiana. I live in Kansas. I don't have a stoplight in my town. Like, I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just saying, like, I don't see LeBron deciding to go to Indiana.
So yes, your point here is right though. So like people have brought up Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
Can you make the case for Cleveland doing this?
Yeah, sure. Go. Here's kind of you're only guaranteed 1 year of it. And you know me, Sam, like I'm always nervous about shortening my window. So my argument would be for Cleveland is, and I think this is for another East team as well. Celtics aren't competing this year. Indiana's not competing this year. If we're going to go, this is like the window is wide open for 25-26. If we think that he's the piece that makes us true title contenders, then this would be, the time to do it.
Okay, sure. What about what you have to give up?
So
like
that's why what's the window after he's gone?
I want to talk about this like just functionally.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So given their pending roster right now, according to our guy Keith Smith, who is genuinely one of the all-time great people, and we love Keith on the show. We will have Keith on the show at some point to talk through some things. He doesn't know that yet, but Keith is the best, and I will make sure that.
Real quick plug, I jumped on with Keith on the front office show Saturday morning and recapped the draft. So if you want some stuff before Sam and I do it next week, you can go check that out over on the front office show.
according to Spot Track, where Keith does all the cap stuff, the Cavs, with their current iteration of 11 guys on the roster, counting Naquan Tomlin, so really 10 guys fully on the roster, accounting for Sam Merrill's new deal and accounting for the Lonzo Ball trade, they are $16 million over the second apron. They're $16 million over the second apron. That means to make something like this work, you basically have to find a place to dump DeAndre Hunter's money. Because otherwise, like, a trade here is going to be incredibly hard because you can't aggregate unless you're under the second apron, right?
Yep.
So you have to dump DeAndre Hunter's money. And then still, being over the first apron, you can't take back more money in a deal than what you send out. So creating a deal, right? Darius Garland and Jared Allen, sure, that's like $59 million, that works. Darius Garland and Max Strus, sure, $55 million or so, that works, right? I think that even like Garland, Lonzo, and you can't aggregate, or no, Lonzo was only 1-for-1, so you can, but like Garland, Lonzo, and Dean Wade or something like that, right? Like that gets you there. Allen, Strus, Lonzo, and Dean Wade gets you pretty close. But again, you're hard capping yourself at the second apron at that point, which they might be already. I can't remember. I don't think they are, though. There's just no way that this works to me. Like, nothing about that situation works to where they become a better basketball team with LeBron.
Because of the depth that you're losing in that scenario.
Correct. So, and on top of that, here's the thing that makes it hardest, right? How do you dump DeAndre Hunter? Has to be to Brooklyn. Okay, Brooklyn wants assets to be able to do that because that's what they need. Well, like, what picks do you have? Like, you do have your 2026 pick, but you have traded 2027 already. You have your 2028 pick in a pick swap, but you don't have your 2029. You have your 2030 and your 2031. You can move your 2031 first rounder. Maybe Brooklyn would be willing to take their 2031 first rounder. But then what do the Cavs like? What do the Lakers want? Do the Lakers just do DeAndre or do Darius Garland and
so that's
Jared
where I was
Allen?
Like,
Maybe
I was
like
so I go
possible.
that side, but like Austin Reeves and Darius Garland and Luka. I don't love that.
Yeah.
So like when you look at it from the Lakers side, like all of a sudden I was trying to dump Darius Garland, not dump, but like you can't also send him to Brooklyn.
Where do you send Darius at that point? Right?
Yeah, I was going to try to send him to Brooklyn, but that's too much money with DeAndre. And the reason you can't send DeAndre, who had, you can send him back to Atlanta, right? That was the one trade exception that we found that was enough to take on his money. Because obviously he makes way more than non-tax MLE. I don't know how many trade exceptions there are out there that are big enough to take on the $23 million.
And what's the point if you're Cleveland to go all in for 1 year? If I'm Cleveland,
I think I'm going to win it with this team. No, right?
I think I have a shot to win it with this team. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I decide this team isn't good enough, I would rather trade it for something that's more long-term than one. And I realize like LeBron, Cleveland, Ohio, like all of I understand how much money they would make. Like we're purely talking on the court basketball stuff. I just like that trio would be a lot of fun and it makes a lot of sense. Like that's fine. It's just like, how are you rounding out the roster? Like what is the rest of that roster around that trio that, yes, you probably do still get out of the East because it's so weak. But again, to your point, why are you not feeling that way as is with this roster?
Okay, and then let's talk about the Knicks, right?
Yep.
The Knicks can do this with OG and Bridges if they want to. But again, that deal's really hard to match. Like that becomes really difficult to match financially because those two guys make what, like
50,
60 plus, right?
No, shoot. Yeah. OG's on 40.
Like
50,
65, basically.
40.
So,
yeah. So now the
like,
Lakers
you
have
can
to
get
add.
there. You can get there and make it work, but like, if you're the Knicks, okay, you're doing OG and Bridges. So it's Cat, it's LeBron, it's Jalen Brunson, it's Mitchell Robinson, it's Josh Hart, it's Deuce McBride, right? Your whole issue is depth.
And defense, Sam. Like,
Yep.
LeBron is not the same defender he was. It comes and goes. Can we agree with that? Like, there are times where he can still be a very, very impactful defender. Maybe very, very strong.
He had like a good 35 game stretch this year on defense. I will give him credit for that.
Sure. So I guess in that world, you think he can still turn it up for the playoffs, right? But he ain't doing it in the regular season, and maybe that doesn't matter. But OG was an all defense level player, and there were still defensive questions from this team. And I know offensively that sounds awesome of those guys. You think LeBron's going to love Jalen Brunson just pounding it, like the way Jalen Brunson plays, and he's just going to stand in the corner? Like, Cat's never going to touch the ball now.
Yeah. I don't love the fit there. I mean, maybe the Sixers try something with Paul George, but like, why do the Lakers want Paul George?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that doesn't make sense. So I think LeBron ends up with the Lakers, I guess is my point. I don't see the move out there, I guess is my thing. That makes sense. Unless you want to say maybe Jimmy Butler for LeBron. That's the only thing that I can think of.
Is Golden
That's
State
the only one.
Yeah. I know this sounds like people are going to take this like I don't think LeBron is great, and it's not the case at all. It's just like what's left of the team that he ends up on. And this is always the conversation with star trades, Sam. Always.
But the Warriors like can make the case that hey, we're going all in on Steph and Dre and we're doing LeBron, but again, if you're the Lakers, why do you want Jimmy Butler? You probably don't, is my thing, right? You have to get a ton of assets back with Jimmy Butler to me. It's more than just a first round pick if I'm doing this. And Andy Cruz brings this up. LeBron has a no trade clause. Like, that's a huge piece of this too. He gets to go where he wants. So that's the whole thing. So I don't really see it. I say this. I don't see this. I just want to, the Nuggets, another team, it's just really hard to make it work because they're both over the first apron. So,
I mean, and to the other side of that, he's also under contract now with the Lakers. So like the Lakers can just play LeBron as well. Like that's the thing. Correct. Is like, he's now like, he doesn't have the leverage of the opt out and whatever. He's opted in. He's under contract 1 year with the Lakers. So like they can just play it out. So like, again, to his point with the no trade clause and him opting in, like it just continues to limit the amount of teams that this seems like it could happen with.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't really see it. Someone brought up Dallas in the comments, like, sure, maybe, but for PJ, Gafford, and Clay.
Nah, I want live. If I'm the Lakers, I'm getting Lively in that deal.
Yeah, I agree. I want like a real dude, I think, if I'm them. So, okay. Folks, we have breaking news here that broke like 20 minutes ago.
Oh,
as the commenters know. DeAndre Ayton has finalized a contract buyout with the Portland Trailblazers. So we're going to get dominating
on the market.
Shout out to Shams for this one. We've got DeAndre Ayton hitting the trade market. Let's go crazy, folks.
Okay.
Finalizing contract buyout. I mean, look, this had to happen when they took Hansen Yang. You know what I mean?
Since this happened in the offseason, do all of the rules around buyouts and second apron teams and all of that still apply? Like, isn't there something with, like, because he would be over the number right? There's a
I mean, there are certain teams that won't be able to sign him.
Does that play out in the offseason also? So that's going to limit his market just a little bit.
That's a good question. Let's see if Keith has anything. Is Keith letting us know things? No, Keith is logged off for the night. Thank God. Good for you, Keith. I don't have an answer on this. Let's see. Bobby Marks is saying anybody can sign him.
So it must not be an off-season thing. Okay.
Yeah, we trust in Bobby. Bobby is the best. Free to sign with any team. Waiver restriction only occurs during the regular season.
Okay.
He had $35.6 million left. I'll be interested to see what he gave back to Portland, honestly, to get off of this team. Shout out to Bobby Marks for being able to explain this. Okay, so you can sign anywhere. I mean, hey, go sign with the Lakers. Let's do it. Honestly, like that's the team, right? They need a big desperately.
He's going to a contender on like a super small deal, right? Because he can afford to do that this year. Go play for the Lakers, recoup value, because it doesn't matter what he signs for this year. He's gonna make how much ever
30. He's making 30 plus this year at least.
So he can go sign on a minimum if he wants, money wise. Now, optics wise, it may not be a good precedent to set, but money wise, he can go play on a minimum, play on a contender, make real money, play real minutes, recoup the value, and hopefully play himself into a real contract next offseason.
Would you rather have DeAndre Ayton on a minimum or Day'Ron Sharpe at $6 million a year? I don't know, something like that.
Don't ask me this question. I'll say DeAndre Ayton. I have to say DeAndre Ayton so the comments don't like scream at me. I think Day'Ron Sharpe is awesome.
Yeah, I think I would rather have DeAndre, but it's not that far off to me. Like that's the level that DeAndre is.
Like to me, the teams that are like going to sign Ayton for a minimum probably aren't going to be the same teams that I think should be going after Day'Ron Sharpe right now. Like, I think those are different teams. Like the Celtics should be calling DeAndre Ayton, right? Like they don't have, good call. Especially if Luke Cornett is going to end up somewhere else. Like if this is all Ayton's going to, be available for.
Yeah. Honestly, like the Celtics are a great team for Ayton. I don't know if the Joe Mazzulla experience totally tracks with DeAndre Ayton, if I'm being completely honest. That would be interesting to see happen.
Here's my thing. Does DeAndre Ayton make sense with Luka? Like, do we like that fit? Like, that's
he's not a great rim runner.
That's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily the type of big that we've talked about. And he's not necessarily a stretch big, right? Like, he's not necessarily he's
like a mid-range big.
He's like a mid-range big. That's why I struggle with DeAndre Ayton. It's because okay, is he a great passer? Is it he's just like a mid-range big that doesn't defend that well? Like it's not that's why I like Day'Ron Sharpe. I know exactly what he's gonna do. He's gonna set crazy screens. He's gonna rebound his butt off, and he's gonna play defense. That's the other thing with
DeAndre. Like DeAndre's not a great screener more than anything.
So that's where I struggle with him. I think the situation, the team is important for DeAndre Ayton in this scenario, because you got to find a team that's going to value that he's going to short roll into 15-foot jumpers, not play physically at the rim, and those type of things. I don't mean to be shitting on DeAndre Ayton. I'm just saying,
no, but he's a total freak athletically for his size, just being what he's capable of, right? Like he is 7 foot with a 7'6" wingspan. He's athletic and he just works his way into 14 and 10. It's the reality. 16 and 11 last year in Portland, 18 and 10 the year before in Phoenix, 17 and 10 the year before. If he plays 30 minutes, and he probably should, because he's probably just one of the 30, best bigs in the NBA at this point, he's going to work his way into 14 and 10. That's the low end, it feels like. People keep bringing up the Hornets. I think the Hornets make total sense.
Yeah, sure. Yep. And I think the other thing is there's going to be a center market carousel that happens. Maybe he sets this out until that thing slows down. And then you go find, there's a multitude of teams that have come in. You brought up the Lakers, the Celtics, the Nuggets. There's a multitude of teams that I'm they could use a backup big, that if the teams that miss out on Luke Cornett, Day'Ron Sharpe, Horford, I think, is going back to Boston, right? Portis went back to Milwaukee. There's a couple other centers out there named, like, whoever misses out on those guys, that carousel of bigs. Okay, well, we'll take DeAndre Ayton now on a minimum or something like that.
I will just say, though, this sounds extremely Rob Pelinka coded to me. Like, big name,
sure,
productive in terms of the box score. Like, you can easily make the case that this makes sense to me.
The Clippers are another team that I think should be in the market for one of these guys. I mean, honestly, even the Sixers, Sam, like, I know Drummond opted in, but we've talked about how bad Drummond was last year. They should still be in the market for a backup big.
So, like, the Clippers are not good. Yeah, the Clippers are in the market for the backup big market.
Yeah.
Like, I think DeAndre is going to want. This is exactly right from Michael L. Like, I don't think DeAndre sees himself as a backup.
So,
I think he's going to want the starting minutes, which is why I bring up the Lakers.
Yeah. So
or Boston, frankly.
Boston, if Cornette leaves. Charlotte, I think then it was a great call by somebody in the comments, or the Lakers, depending on, like, they probably could use two bigs. So depending on what other one they might bring in. Yeah, sorry. You guys are right. DeAndre sees himself as a starter, right or wrong. You guys are probably right about that.
Look, I think you can make a case that it could work with the Lakers. I will say that like, with LeBron and Luka, if you tell him, and he needs to be willing to do this, like, this is on DeAndre, just roll hard to the rim and you will get 18. Like, we promise you, we will find you 18 points if you just run the court and roll hard to the rim. Because for everything that we talk about with DeAndre, right? Like, you look at his best seasons. His best seasons occurred with Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Like, when Chris Paul was there in his fourth year, DeAndre Ayton shot 17 points a game, shooting 63% at the rim, or at the from the field, right? 10 rebounds, blocked some shots, right? In his fifth season in 2023, Chris Paul still there, 18 points, 10 rebounds, shoots 59% from the field, right? Like, if you are with DeAndre, 14 points, 10.5 rebounds in his third year with Chris Paul, right? Like, there is a real way to do this and to make it work. It's literally, you just have to get him to run the court hard and to roll hard and to screen hard. If he does those three things, he will average 18 and 10 probably with those teams. I think that Luka and LeBron will lose their minds defensively at times, and they will get frustrated and annoyed. But here's the thing. It's still better than Jackson Hayes being out there. Like, it's still better than whatever the other option is.
I mean, I think the Lakers should be in the market for two of these guys. Like, whether it's Ayton and Lopez, Ayton and Sharp and Lopez, you know, like, whatever. Like, I think they need to bring in two of these guys. And, like, I've said this so many times now, people are going to get annoyed, but, like, Dallas built the blueprint for a Luka team. All LA has to do is copy it as best as possible. And it starts with that center position. So go get two of these guys would be my, I don't know if they can get there. I don't know. Like, but if Ayton's on a minimum,
if Ayton's taking a minimum, which we don't know if he is.
Yeah. But if he was willing to, like, even if, so what, they'd have the taxpayer then, or or they have the full non-tax with DFS gone.
They will have the full taxpayer, I believe. Yes.
Yeah. So,
so how would you feel if it was, and look, I don't know if the Lakers would do this. Like, what if it's Brook Lopez and DeAndre Ayton?
Yeah. Like, I would be okay.
You pay Ayton a minimum and you give Brook Lopez like 10 million or something.
Great. Something like that. Like, what I would do, I would get Ayton on the minimum. I would bring Day'Ron Sharp in on half of the non-tax or less, and then use the rest of the full non-tax MLE on a wing to replace Dorian Finney-Smith. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is Day'Ron Sharp
is another name with them?
Yes.
Like, to replace Dorian Finney-Smith?
Is Day'Ron Sharp and DeAndre Ayton not extremely better center situation than the Lakers had last season? And how many seasons?
Better. Much better. Yeah.
And you promise Ayton the starting spot because you get him on a minimum, but however those minutes shake out between those two guys. And to be clear, if it's Lopez, if it's Cornette, whatever, this is what LA should be doing. And then you have $8 million left on the non-tax MLE to get LaRavia, or I don't know who are some other wings that are
like
the
other thing
our
too,
guy Merrill already signed back.
If Ayton's willing to take the center position and take the minimum to do it, which we don't know if he is, he might not, right? If he was willing to do that for a year with the Lakers, they could then decide to use just the taxpayer MLE, use $6 million or whatever it is, 5.8 or whatever. Go try and sign like Jake LaRavia as your backup wing. Maybe use the biannual, use X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
Right? Use the biannual. And then you have flexibility in trades to be able to like maneuver around a little bit more if you want to, as opposed to being hard capped at the tax number, which is slightly above or slightly below, if I remember correctly, the first apron. I think it might just be the first apron number in terms of like what you can get to on the non-tax. So it might actually create a lot of flexibility for the Lakers if they decide to go that route. We'll see what they do though.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what Ayton is willing to do, right? Like he this is all just assuming he would be willing to do this because he's making $30 million regardless. Maybe he wants to go make some more money and sign a real contract with Charlotte or something.
Yeah. DeAndre Ayton at this point has made the number is like 170 or so. Like if I'm him, like let's just go put up points and try and be in a winning situation. But he's played that game like he's been in Phoenix. He's made the finals before. So maybe he won't want to do that. We shall see. Okay. The Minnesota Timberwolves actually were incredibly active this weekend. They re-signed Julius Randle and Naz Reid. The Naz Reid deal is 5/125. The Julius Randle deal is, I believe, 300.
300,
right?
Yeah. 300.
So the Timberwolves are basically running this back. They're essentially running it back with who they have, minus Nickeil Alexander-Walker, adding in 2 center draft picks and Jan Berenjay and Rocco Zikarsky. I believe that Naz Reid and Julius Randle both got player options, right?
Yep.
So you've now opened up like a 2-year window here with these dudes. If I'm Minnesota, I'm totally good with this. And here's the thing that I think people are kind of underrating a little bit, right? If I was Minnesota, if I was Houston, and Houston already upgraded big with the Kevin Durant deal, obviously, but if I was Denver, especially Denver, because Denver came very close to beating full strength Oklahoma City as it is.
Yeah.
I'm probably good just running this back because I don't know how much better I'm getting by adding variance and different things to the equation, when the reality might be that the variance gods might just hit and Jalen Williams is out for the playoffs next year or something, or Chet Holmgren's out for the playoffs next year. And Oklahoma City is just a fundamentally different team at that point. And you're in a good spot. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go out and explore everything that's out on the market. You should. I just also pretty strongly believe that upgrade better be pretty aggressive, or it better be a situation that fits and makes it super easy to make work. Otherwise, it's probably not going to help you as much as you want it to.
Yeah, I think I don't disagree with that. That's fair. Because it's always, sometimes we look at okay, you're paying this guy that's too much. And it's well, what is the replacement, right? Okay, if you don't give player X this money or whatever, well, then what are you going to have to do to replace that player? What is that money going to look like? Or what does that replacement player look like? I think just process wise, I'm struggling to wrap my head around, what is that? $86 million next year to my front court between those 3 guys. I'm struggling a little bit with that, but they just have to be awesome. Like those three guys just have to be awesome playing together. And then of course, I think the thing that's hardest for me is this most likely thing, like Nah is probably going to be gone. But we've talked about that is eventually when you get expensive, you have to trust your draft picks or minimum signings or whatever. You have to win on the margins. And so now we're going to find out if Minnesota won on the margins. Is Jalen Clark a find for them? Is Terrence Shannon Jr. a find for them? Not a one-to-one replacement, but is trading up into the lottery 2 drafts ago and drafting Rob Dillingham gonna pay off? And so ultimately it comes down to those things as well. And eventually you got to just lean into them, because that's why you did them, was to set you up for situations like this where you had to prioritize the front court and go youth and draft picks and that in the backcourt, because you can't afford all of it.
Yeah, so I agree that like they do still, they need some help across the backcourt, but I wonder if they think that they have it internally. Like I wonder if they think that Rob Dillingham, Terrence Shannon Jr., and Jalen Clark, like if I was them, so here's the real reason why I would have done exactly what they're doing right now, right? And re-signed the front court as opposed to Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Sure.
I think Jalen Clark's really good.
Sure.
It's kind of what I believe.
Yeah.
I think Jalen Clark is going to be a real replacement for Nickeil Alexander-Walker next year. He might be, I don't know, 80%, 85% of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but I think that's probably about what it's going to be based off of what I've seen from Jalen Clark at this point.
I mean,
that dude can go, man.
There's a chance he's better defensively, right? Like a real chance he's better defensively.
Offensively, I think not even really all that close.
Agree.
I think that defensively, he might be better.
He's just a little more physical than Nah is, and that may give him a chance to hold up a little bit. Like he's just built a little bit strong. Like I love Nah. Trust me, I have a video breakdown. People can go watch it. Yes. I rave about it. But like he's going to give up a little bit because he's a little slighter of frame, and that changes how many guys you can match up with and holding your line and stuff we talk about all the time. Not a huge thing, but I agree. I think Clark could be better defensively. I would say there's not a great chance he's anywhere close to what Nah was offensively, at least next season.
Yes, I would agree. But you have Rob Dillingham coming in. You have Terrence Shannon coming in. Like you've made your 3 draft picks.
Yep.
That seem to have worked out, right? Like not including Josh Minot, Leonard Miller, my dear sweet baby boy. That, you know, those guys, like it seems like those two are still trying to figure things out a little bit more. But Jalen Clark looks like he can go.
Yeah.
Rob Dillingham, I'm not a huge fan of Rob Dillingham, but they clearly are big fans of Rob Dillingham. And they clearly believe in Rob Dillingham in some way, shape, or form, which is ultimately what matters, right?
Yeah.
So Rob Dillingham. And you have Terrence Shannon Jr., who played real minutes in the playoffs at times this year and was like a problem in some respects and was super impactful in other respects, right? Like it was real hit or miss. So what do you do? Like, I think that you trust in those 3 guys, 2 of which have shown you something at least. And then Rob Dillingham is the guy you've invested the most in, over in trusting one of those guys to step into Nah's steps, over signing Nah and letting one of those 2 walk. Sure. I think that this is the way that you had to do it, in all honesty.
I think you're probably right. The Nah's number, I think these 5-year deals are what is like jumping, like there's a shock value in a 5-year deal for a non-max.
You're struggling with it. Yeah.
I am. I don't know why. Like I need to sit on the combine tomorrow and figure it out. Like I need to really sit there. I have a lot of time to think on that thing. And just really, I'm sure my dad would love that a multi-$1,000 piece of equipment is being driven by somebody thinking about the justification of 5 years to Naz Reid and Jabari Smith Jr. He's going to love that. Good thing he doesn't listen to the podcast. I don't know why. It just, there's a little bit of shock value there. But here's the thing. I look at each year. I don't complain about the Malik Monk contract, Sam. So why am I going to complain about the Nas Reid? I realize they're different players, but the role for the team is somewhat similar in terms
it's
of
about right in terms of the percentage of cap as well.
Correct. And I don't yell about Monk. I think Monk is awesome and on a good deal. So how can I then yell about a Nas Reid contract that may ultimately and eventually see him in the starting lineup, like more than a sixth man for his team? Because Randle's deal is only 3 years. So those final 2 years, Nas has a real opportunity to become the starting 4, or maybe even before that, if you trade Julius Randle at some point or something like that. So I think ultimately the process is probably right, because like, do you have more faith in Josh Minot, Leonard Miller, Luka Garza, or whatever to replace Nas Reid?
J is a rookie.
J, Zakarski, obviously not going to be that, to replace one of those guys? Or as we've outlined, do you believe in Jalen Clark, Terrence Shannon Jr., Rob Dillingham?
Yeah, I think they're making the right choice here at the end of the day. Because I think that this team should be contending right now. Like, that's my read, is like they are close enough to where they should be contending and should be doing this. Like with Anthony Edwards, maybe, like, here's the other thing. Anthony Edwards, still young enough to take a leap.
Sure.
Like, still very much in the cards that he could get much better at basketball. Like, imagine if he comes in this year and he's like, oh shit, I know how to play slow and make passing reads now. Like, at some point, he's either going to do that or he's not going to do it. But when he does it, if he does it, I guess, he's a top 3 player in the league, probably, if he does that.
And Sam, we're talking about a team.
He's genuinely an MVP candidate if he figures out how to like make passing reads off of different help defense situations as he drives.
And I would also, like, I always bring this, like, I want a little bit more consistent defensively as well. And I think that would catapult him into the echelon we're talking about. And he's already an all NBA player. This team has gone to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. Like, back-to-back. So again, I've said this about the Rockets when they got the 2 seed last year. We cannot say that the Western Conference is loaded and then undermine a team that has gone to back-to-back Western Conference Finals, and in this year lost to the eventual champions. We can't undermine that and not treat them like real contenders. Those two things can't happen. We can't say it's loaded and then discredit the team that's gone to the Western Conference Final 2 years in a row, back-to-back, and has all of the same, well, actually it's different pieces, but in this scenario would be then now running it back with the same group. Here's the other thing. You know what we always do with the Knicks? What caveat do we always give the Knicks, Sam? That trade happened in October and they didn't have all offseason to figure it out.
Totally.
We haven't said enough about Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. Like, it's the same idea for them. That trade happened the same day for them that it did for the Knicks.
100%. It's 100% right. They are now, just in terms of where they sit away from the cap and the aprons and everything, they're way over the cap, obviously, but they are $12 million away from the second apron at this point. They do have the $4.2 million from J that will cut into that a little bit. So they're basically looking at minimums in like maybe some of the non-taxpayer MLE. I would guess that they probably bring in a perimeter player of some repute at some point. I've always thought that one of the Joneses like makes sense to me, be it Tyus Jones, Trey Jones, something like that. Just get another guy to like run the offense maybe. But I will say that maybe somebody with a little bit more size, like a DeLon Wright or something, could be helpful. But like, that's more what you're looking at here at this point with the Wolves. They've kind of made their bed here, I think. We're going down swinging with Ant, with Gobert, with Randle, with Jaden, with Nas, with Dante, the kids like Dillingham, Shannon, and Clark. We'll see what Leonard Miller is. Maybe you bring back Josh Minot, and we kind of let it rock, right?
Yeah, right would track for me just because, like, the defensive aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like, you have Conley, you have Dillingham. Like, actually, like, Conley knock down shots, be the vet leader, set the table. Dillingham come in, be a nuclear scorer. Okay, we actually just need somebody to come in and guard. Like, we need the defensive one. DeLon Wright kind of makes sense there for me in terms of giving you, like, a trio of smaller guards that give you a little bit something different depending on the situation.
Yeah, just to be clear, people in the comments are saying this. They didn't pick up the options on Minot or Luka Garza. That does not mean that they can't like re-sign those players. They absolutely can re-sign them. They still hold their bird rights if they want to. It's just that you do this right now to open up some flexibility. Both of those guys are like questionable as whether or not they're real NBA players. So you want the flexibility here moving forward to be able to see, okay, is there something that we can do that like really makes this like functionally work here?
Yep.
Okay. I like what they've done. The one that like I'm weirdly like a little bit more skeptical on is the James Harden deal. I think that they just kind of had to do this at the end of the day, right? We kind of talked about that when we did the Clippers preview, where you just kind of have to bring him back. This is a great team down the stretch this past year. The deal is going to be like $41 million a year, somewhere in that ballpark for Harden. It lines up with the Kawhi deal now. You know, Kawhi's at $50 million this year, 50.3 next year. They're still looking at the summer of 2027. But the thing is, in terms of why I was like, okay, maybe you don't do it this way, right? It does cut into what you're capable of next summer a little bit if he opts in. So if he opts in at 40, 42 it would be in all likelihood. And I do wonder if they structure it so he makes more this year than less next year, potentially. So he's at 42.3. Kawhi is at 50.3. Pull this up on the screen while I'm going through all these numbers too for you guys. If you're watching on YouTube, which by the way, go watch on YouTube. A lot of visual aids that we put up on the screen a lot of the time.
Whenever I looked, we have more watching right now than the second. Like we have over 1,000 live viewers on YouTube. This is incredible. You guys are amazing.
We appreciate all you guys immensely.
And we will be live tomorrow night in some capacity as well. It may or may not be me, but Sam and some version of Game Theory podcast crew will be live tomorrow recapping the moves.
We'll definitely be live. That is true. Okay, so 90 points, 92.6 with Harden and Kawhi. Add the Zubats numbers. That gets you to what, like 112 or so? Let's remove the Bogdan number because there's 0 guaranteed. 122 with Derek Jones. I guess you could decline the Kobe White option.
Kobe Brown.
And then you would Kobe Brown, I'm sorry, Jesus. Kobe Brown option. So you'd be at 122 with Harden, Kawhi, Zubats versus a 170 cap. But then you'd also have like cap holds and things like that you'd have to include. So it would be what? Like with 3 guys there, you'd have 9 extra cap holds at like $1 million. So that'd cut in 10. So you'd be at like 38 million, right? Which isn't quite enough max wise.
You have Niederhauser too. I don't know what his rookie deal is, not a ton because he's number 30, but there's another few million.
So you're at like 35, let's call it, in terms of the cap next year with space. That's not quite enough to be able to like make a real swing, right? So I wonder if we go and look at it, if you're a Clippers fan now that they've decided to do this, this is just now your team for the next 2 years basically, and you try to like really go for it, right? You use your full mid-level this year. You try and go and do whatever you have to go get better this year, and you go for it, right? I thought that they would try to stay a little bit more flexible, I guess, is what I figured maybe.
Let's live in that world. Let's say they go, because I mean, you have it there, but like the books really do clean up in 2027. I mean, Kawhi, Harden, you only Zubac essentially is substantial money on the books. What is going for it look like here? Like who makes a ton of sense? Starting lineup of Harden, Powell, Dunn, Kawhi, Zubac, right? Off the bench, you have Bogdan, Derek Jones Jr.
Whatever they do at backup center.
So backup center. This seems like a backup point guard team, Sam, right?
This feels like a real Day'Ron Sharp team.
Sure. Yeah.
Like they should give Day'Ron Sharp like 6, and they should give a backup point guard like 6 and be good.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it. Yeah, because the thing is, neither of us think Niederhauser is ready for that role. Not in this situation.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, I'm very. I think you and I are a little bit more skeptical on Niederhauser than some are, but yeah.
Point guard, backup point guard options, like the normal crew. They're not going to get Ty Jerome unless they gave unless they gave him the full. Don't you think he'll take the full non-tax MLE?
For who?
Ty Jerome.
Ty Jerome's definitely the full.
Yeah.
If it's not, it's close.
Yeah, some of these names have come off that I have on here because Davion went back. Yeah, the point guard market's not exactly booming with options.
No, it's like it's the Joneses, it's
Dante Exum.
It's Ty Jerome, who's going to get like, real money. It's not as easy, I think, to find the real lead guard as what you would hope for.
Yeah.
Right.
Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, Karis LeVert's not necessarily lead guard, but
Karis is actually like a pretty good name.
Yeah.
Here,
play a little bit of both. Play off of Harden whenever you need him to.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. It's actually that's a name that really works for me, actually. I mean, this is the other name too that we haven't brought up. Oh. Chris Paul, it's been like pretty clearly in the media at this point that he wants to be close to his family in LA. Chris Paul makes a ton of sense for the Clippers. The return. Yeah.
I wonder if they have the biannual.
I can look that up, but
do you think he would take the biannual just to be there, and then you still had the full non-tax to go center, and then maybe also add some sort of wing to the mix?
The Clippers are one of the teams that do not have their biannual because they used it on Batum last year.
Okay.
Yep. For some reason that tracked to me for some reason.
Yep.
Because I think they were one of 2 teams. I think it was them and the Rockets. The Rockets used it on Holiday last year.
Okay.
But that does, like, honestly, if you're Chris Paul and you just want to be close to your family, right?
Just take the vet min.
Do you just take the vet min? Honestly, like, it's like over $3 million for him because he's been in the league for so long. Chris Paul's made like an ungodly amount of money. He's made $400 million at this point in his career. If the whole goal is to stay home, like if that's literally what he's trying to do, is it just you go to the Clippers for the men?
So to me, that all of a sudden is a really interesting team. I outlined the starting lineup. Chris Paul is your backup point guard. You got Bogdan. You got Derek Jones Jr. You got Day'Ron Sharp as a center or whoever backup big you want to add. And then you still would have a little bit of money to go get a wing. Like if you get Sharp or whoever for $6 million, you would have $8 million to go get Jake LaRavia or bring back Batum or whoever. I mean, insert name, wing. Whatever, yeah. Like if you need a little more floor spacing, you want to really lean into defense with somebody. Maybe Yabusele. Like, I don't know what Yabusele's market is going to be.
Yabusele is a great name for them too, I think, actually. Yeah.
So I just, Paul on the minimum, I think would allow them to really build out their depth because they could go center and wing with the non-tax MLE.
Yeah. So look, I just think that like the Clippers are in a good spot now. Like they can go do a lot of different things for sure. It is just interesting to me that they're probably not going 2026. It's more like they're going with this core and then they're going to figure it out post Kawhi and post Harden now moving forward.
Yep.
That seems like the trajectory we're at this point. And that's okay. Yeah. Like that's
sure.
And they have Bogdan too, right? Like we'll figure out what Bogdan can be, right? Like maybe he takes a bit of a leap in year 2 with the Clippers compared to where he was, right? He was okay in the regular season, but it didn't go super well in the playoffs. So yeah, it's just an interesting decision. Speaking of interesting decisions, Bryce, what is this Collin Sexton, Jusef Nurkic deal where the Hornets, and again, big theme of the draft coverage was, I think the Hornets front office is really good. That's like my take on this right now. The Hornets front office is genuinely very, very good. They get Collin Sexton and what projects potentially down the road in 2030 to be a potentially good second round pick for Jusef Nurkic? Question mark. Who, like, honestly, like, it's not news that like Nurkic isn't always the easiest guy to be around, it feels like, for his teams. And then on top of it, like, just isn't very good anymore. What am I missing here? Because Collin Sexton is, like, at the very least good. Like, he's good at basketball. He averaged 18 points and 4 assists on 48, 41, 87 last year. There are limitations, and he's probably best coming off the bench for sure. But he's definitely good at basketball.
Yeah, I mean, so I've tried to look at this from every angle. First, I don't understand why Utah had to give up a pick in this deal. Like, that makes no sense
idea.
to me. Like, you traded away the better player. Like, whatever. And then it's like there's no contract, like there's no advantage contract wise. You know what I mean? Like, they're both expirings. So it wasn't even like, oh, if we're Utah, we get, Sexton has 2 years. And so we're, now Nurkic is only 1 and we have a backup center. I'm like, if you wanted a backup center, you could have got it way easier than giving up Sexton with a second round pick. I don't like this for Utah.
Why is this better than not just cutting Collin Sexton?
So that's what I was going to say.
Second round pick.
That's what I was going to say. Just get rid of him. Like, I don't know. For Charlotte, it's interesting. Like, I would bring Sexton off the bench. And if you want to, here's what I think Sexton will help the Hornets do. He will help them play competitive regular season basketball games. They will play more competitive regular season basketball games than Nurkic would have helped them play competitive regular season basketball games. And I think that's important for the evaluation of Brandon Miller, Con Knipple, Liam McNeely, hell, LaMelo Ball. Now they got to figure out their center situation. Like I just said that Nurkic wasn't going to help you win games. He may have in Charlotte because they don't have a whole lot else. They got to figure this out in terms of if they want to play competitive games, they need a real starting center. But I don't mind this flyer for them. You got a second round pick and Sexton. Like, maybe he's really good. Maybe you find something here. Maybe he loves being your third guard and you sign him to a longer term deal this offseason that's manageable.
Here's the thing that I feel confident in for sure. Right. Collin Sexton is definitely going to be tradable at the deadline this year, right?
Yeah.
Like, if a team, is dealing with injuries and needs another ball handler in the same way that Dennis Schroeder was like tradable at the deadline and turned into a pretty useful player for the Detroit Pistons down the stretch, Collin Sexton's going to be tradable for like a second round pick or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there are limitations. Like, we don't want to overrate what Collin Sexton is. He's very small.
That's smart.
He's super aggressive and like tries really hard on defense, but he doesn't cover ground super quickly. I don't love his off-ball defense. And then the ball can stick. We'll go with that. The ball can stick in his hands a little bit. But yeah, man, like this is one where I'm like, okay, what is Utah cooking up? Because why would you feel like you need to go get a center is kind of my question when that guy's making the same amount of money. Why do you feel like you need to go out and get a center so much that you're willing to give up a pick for including a much better player in the deal to go get Nurkic? like this makes me think like, okay, what are we doing with Walker Kessler here? Just
Sure.
point blank. That was my immediate reaction is do they have something cooking with Kessler?
Yeah. I guess, I mean, the easy answer here is also like that backcourt was just going to get crowded, right? I mean, they added Walter Clayton. So like I'm okay with them. I want to be clear. I'm okay with them moving Collin Sexton.
Totally.
I actually would encourage it. I just don't feel like this is the right value in terms of a center that I don't necessarily love and having to trade out the second with it. If I was gonna have to give up value to get off of Collin Sexton, I would just keep him. Like I like fine. I guess if nobody values him around the league, I'll just keep him. It just seemed like weird value for him.
Yeah. So like, again, my question is, why aren't you just cutting him instead of giving up the second round pick with it? Like, if you really feel that way, why don't you just cut him then? But like feeding into the next point here is they make about the same, Sexton 18.9, Nurkic 19.3. Do you know that maybe like Nurkic is more willing to take, less money in a buyout situation? Like, is Nurkic, like if you talk to Nurkic's agents and you're like, okay, Nurkic is willing to take $5 million off of his deal to hit the open market. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, is that a thing that's there?
Yeah. Could be. Is that
Maybe?
worth a second round pick?
Could be. If it's like $5 million, that's about what a second round pick costs, right? Like if it's a real dollar figure, I can see it, and they have 1 million of them. Like, it's whatever. But yeah, nothing about this deal on its own made sense logically. So there has to be another shoe to drop.
Sure.
In some way. It's just, what is that shoe?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
This was very much a what? Like what? Who's getting traded for who? And there's draft capital.
I was gonna say it's not even who's getting traded for who. It's wait, where is the draft capital going?
Yeah.
Who's getting the draft capital?
I would have bet a lot of money it was going to Utah. Like I would have bet. And then I may have questioned, like, Charlotte, do you really need to be trading draft capital to bring in Sexton? Like, as much as I like it.
Well, let's talk about that real quick in terms of what Collin is for them, right? Nurkic is either a backup center or he's like not on the team for Utah. It's whatever. But I would imagine that like Charlotte really wants Sexton and thinks he's like somewhat useful, right? Because he's a good basketball player. Limited, but a pretty good basketball player who can score and can at the very least run a second unit. Honestly, I'm wondering if he starts for them. And if they go LaMelo, Sexton, Brandon Miller, bring Con off the bench to start. That's kind of interesting.
Sure.
And then like maybe you pool one of LaMelo and Collin early
to run the second unit.
Maybe you pool Collin after 4 minutes, you bring in Con, right? And then you pull LaMelo at like the 2-minute mark remaining in the first quarter, and you bring back Sexton, and that's the guy who's running your second unit. That's kind of a pretty cool. That's a cool thing to me that works.
I noticed you stopped at the 4-man whenever you were doing the starting lineup and didn't round that thing out with the center yet.
I mean, it's going to be Miles Bridges, and it's going to be whatever they do at center. Be it
I know.
Another team that could do Day'Ron Sharp, another team that could do Ayton, like whatever you want to do, right?
Yep. No,
but
yeah, at this value, I love it. Absolutely love it. I think he makes a lot of sense. And again, maybe there ends up being a role here that they like and it becomes a longer term thing. Worst case scenario is you got a second round pick and nothing. But I think most like you mentioned earlier, maybe you get another second. Like you almost could end up netting 2 seconds for Jusef Nurkic, which is good business.
And you already netted a first rounder by taking him from Phoenix.
I was gonna say that, yeah. So good business to your point, right?
No, seriously. I think the Charlotte front office is very good at this. Like, I want to be like, I'm not saying that I think they're like no longer a bad front office. I actually think the Charlotte front office is a good front office now. They're doing everything right in terms of accumulating draft capital, in terms of getting picks, making sure that you handle assets in the right way. And more than anything, what I think they do really well is they time it really well. They seem to understand when a guy is not going to get more value than what he is going to get on the market and decide, all right, let's do this. Right?
Yeah, and to be clear, if we were doing our superlatives tonight and you ask me some of my favorite team drafts, I liked what Charlotte did. I liked their draft, Sam. I liked all 4 picks, to be quite honest with you, and I thought all 4 were pretty good value.
Yeah. The only thing that like I disagree with this front office so far and what they've done is the Miles Bridges deal. I think it was super gross to re-sign him, frankly. But everything since then, I think they've kind of just nailed it. They've done what you're supposed to do as a rebuilding team. You accumulate assets. You move Terry Rozier for a good first-round pick. You are willing to take on the Nurkic deal. You double dip on Phoenix, by the way. You pick the sucker at the poker table, and you go, okay, we're going to get 3 second-round picks for Nick Richards, and then we're going to go back to Phoenix, and we're going to get a first-round pick to take on the Nurkic deal, right? Like, that was super smart, I thought. And then you look at this, like they've done super well. Like all of this tracks to me. I think they've done very smart work with this across the board.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the draft, like you said, go get winners. Go get like real winning basketball players like Ponkanepo, Liam McNeely, Sion James, Brian Kalkbrenner. All those dudes. Kalkbrenner, like real defender who at the very least has potential to shoot as a big. That's a winning basketball player. Sion James, great defender, unbelievable character from everything I've been told about his character. Like great human being, home run. Con and Liam are like 2 of the most competitive dudes you will find in terms of like trying to be great and willing to do what it takes like for the team in order for the team to be great. I think super smart. I think I am a big fan of this front office now in Charlotte. Out as soon as they get rid of Miles Bridges.
Yeah.
I will say that. Once that's done, I will feel better about what their front office has done. Okay. Cleveland Cavaliers made 2 moves. Lonzo Ball for Isaac Okoro. Home run deal for the Cavs to me. I've no 10 out of 10, no notes.
Yeah, I like it.
Straight up.
Yeah. My notes are similar on this one. I like this for the Cavs, which probably tells people how I feel about it going the other direction. Insurance, whatever you want to call it, for the potential of losing Ty Jerome. I think Lonzo makes a lot of sense here. There's always the health, right? So there's always a risk that like this could fall flat on its face in terms of not working. But I think the potential of Lonzo Ball helping the Cavs and playing minutes for the Cavs in the playoffs, if healthy, is a lot higher than like it just. We got to every playoffs and it's like they just can't play Okoro. They can't play Okoro. They can't play Okoro. Yeah. And you can play Lonzo Ball in the playoffs if he is healthy and able to.
I mean, you know what this is, right? It's the same thing that like Oklahoma City did last year with Giddey to a T.
Yeah.
Trade the top 6 pick for a guy who's a winning basketball player in Lonzo Ball. They'll put him, I think the Cavs are going to put him on ice basically until the playoffs. Like they'll play him every other game probably.
Craig Porter Jr. minutes, baby. Let's go.
I think we get some Craig Porter Jr. minutes. Craig Porter Jr. can play. Like he's a great third guard, so you're going to be able to make that work. You have the 2 point guards who can run your offense, like when you know whoever is off the court, right? Like you don't need. Like Ty Jerome was a luxury. He was a great luxury for this team. He was fantastic last year. I don't want to take shots at Ty Jerome at all, but in the playoffs, it was not great.
He wasn't what they needed in the play. Like, isn't Lonzo the exact what you need? Because he can play off of both of those guards. He defends and he plays off the ball, knocks down shots, and keeps the ball moving.
Yeah. Yeah. He defends. This is the big thing. He's a great defender when he's out on the court. Genuinely awesome defender. So this is like the easiest decision in the world to me. And like, look, like again, the health factor with Lonzo is huge. He played 22 minutes a game in the 35 games he played this year. But when he was on the court, man, he was so good. I thought like he was just the epitome of a guy that helps you win basketball games. So someone, Andrew Slater on Twitter brought up, shout out the GM of the NC State Wolfpack now, Andrew Slater, brought up this idea of like, there are absolutely winning traits. And do you know where Andrew Slater's been the last couple of years? Been with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh.
Worked for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Who does a better job of evaluating those things? The Oklahoma City Thunder. It's not all about just finding the most talented dudes. It's about finding the guys who help you win games. And oh, by the way, Bryce, do you know how good the Bulls were with Lonzo Ball on the court last year?
Probably better.
Take a guess what their net rating was.
Plus 7.6.
Not bad. Plus 6.3.
Nice.
With Lonzo on the court. Do you know what it was when he was off the court?
Minus 2.3.
Minus 3.5. No, minus 3.1. I'm sorry. Lonzo makes your team better because he moves the ball. He defends. He absolutely is a tremendous, tremendous processor of the game and decision maker. These guys help you win. These guys absolutely help you win basketball games. And Corey B brings up a good point here. I think that is fair in some respect. Labeling guys as winning basketball players is becoming a bit annoying because we don't really know. Julius Randle is often labeled as a non-winning basketball player, but clearly helped the Wolves. Here's what I would say about the idea of winning basketball players. Anybody can be a winner in the right circumstance. Like, I don't think Bobby Portis has many parts of his game that scream winning basketball player, right? Because he's not a great defender, doesn't process the game super quickly, can kind of be a little bit of a black hole from time to time. But finding his fit next to Giannis, next to Brook Lopez at times, you can be a winning basketball player anywhere. Not everybody can be a winning basketball player everywhere. But I think that most NBA players have the capacity to be a winning basketball player in the right situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of said it there. I think whenever we say winning basketball player or whatever, you kind of allude to players that can fit into any scheme. Like it's just it's the way we say this guy can go anywhere and contribute to and give value to that team. Alex Caruso, right? Like you can literally throw him on any team and that's going to work. And I think guys
will help you win.
That we don't give that label to, there's a little more context around them helping a team win because of, lack of positional versatility or lack of floor spacing ability or defensive limitations or whatever. One other quick point here, Lonzo is also on a club option. So if this doesn't go well, they actually can get off a contract a year earlier than they would have with Okoro as well. And for the Cavs,
totally right.
Like that matters, Sam. Like that could be impactful for a team like Cleveland where they're at with their salary cap situation. Now, if he's good, you just exercise it, you keep him. But if it doesn't, he gets hurt again, you don't pick it up and you save that $10 million. And again, for the Cavs, that could be important.
Yeah, completely agree. Like to me, it's all about the guys who process the game quickly, make quick decisions, defend, and are unselfish. And a big thing is too, by the way, you absolutely have to understand who these people are as human beings, right? You have to get how unselfish they are. You have to get if they're willing to settle into a role, if they're willing to be the kind of player that does not have the ball all the time, right?
Yep.
With Lonzo, we have real proof of that. With Alex Caruso, we had real proof of that. There are guys across the league we don't have proof of it with, right? But it doesn't mean they can't be winners. We just don't know yet. But this is why doing the intel on guys is really important. And why I talk about all the time, like with the Charlotte guys, right? Like Liam McNeely and Con Knipple, like their intel is like sterling. They are unbelievable workers. They are like real dudes who are unselfish. Like we saw it with Con this year, particularly. Con, like, could have been the best player on 98% of college basketball teams last season, right? We saw it in the ACC tournament where he stepped up, was the best player, and led them to winning the ACC tournament. but he played with Cooper Flag and understood what it took, understood what the team needed, and did what it took. So, yeah, there's a thing to being a winning basketball player. I very strongly think that is true, and we will continue to talk about it on this show.
Real quick note on the Ayton thing. He does have to clear waivers, and the clock on his waivers by Bobby Marks won't start till Monday at 5 Eastern. So then he would clear Wednesday at 5 Eastern, just for people to logistically with Ayton.
Interesting. Okay. Some small deals that we won't dig fully into. Oklahoma City, speaking of winning team, right? Resigns Jalen Williams to a 3-year, $24 million deal. Last year team option, so $8 million a year. Great deal to me. Makes total sense. And then they re-sign AJ Mitchell to a 3-year, $9 million deal, which is a home run to me because I love AJ Mitchell and think he's a real dude. Where are you at on these two moves from Oklahoma City? Just continually good business, right?
Yeah, I mean, AJ's number is really good. I find myself going how do they get these guys to continue to lock into these deals, Sam? I think it has to speak to the culture they have there and how they treat these players and how these players feel valued and all of that. Because it would be easy for Jalen Williams to say, I want to go somewhere else where I'm going to get more roster, more playing time, a different roster position. And you know what else is on the end of that deal? A club option. And if you look at Oklahoma City, they continually do this with these contracts. So I think both of these deals make a ton of sense.
But do you know why agents and players are willing to take them? Again, because Oklahoma City takes care of you if you do things well, right? They're giving Jalen Williams $8 million a year. That's a pretty big number for a guy who's essentially going to be their third big, right? And they just drafted Thomas Sorber. I don't think they drafted Thomas Sorber to be below Jalen Williams long term. Jalen Williams will play ahead of him this year, but long term, it'll be Jalen. They take care of guys. They make sure that, guys know that they are wanted, and they make things easy as well on agents. There's no haggling. And then they get rid of Dylan Jones, right? They call it early. They're hey, it's not working. Let's get Dylan Jones to a place where maybe he might go play. Right.
And we talked about this. We thought it would be Ousmane Dieng to open up the roster spot for.
I did because of the finances.
Yeah. And because Dieng is on the last year of the rookie. Yeah. And Dylan Jones was obviously on the first year, and the amount and all of that. Because I also can I just say something real quick? Just a little chink in Presti's armor. Let's not say he has a perfect track record of draft picks.
No.
They just spent 6 second-round picks to move Dylan Jones to the Washington Wizards. That's all. I'm not that's not a Dylan Jones thing. I quite thought Dylan Jones was interesting in the draft, but don't throw at me that Sam Presti is perfect and has this unblemished track record of draft. He's still the best that's doing it. No question. It's 6 second-round picks down the drain. Now, he acquired so many, it doesn't matter, so we don't talk about it. I just thought it was kind of interesting.
This is the thing that drives me crazy whenever people will be oh, but you had X player here on your board. We can't believe in you. We can't trust in you as an evaluator. It's Sam Presti just spent 6 second-round picks to draft Dylan Jones. You just traded up to get Ousmane Dieng. It happens.
Hey,
the whole
Sam,
thing is that you're absolutely going to miss on guys. Evaluating guys is very hard.
How many total career points did Alexei Pokuchevsky score in his career?
1,200.
Oh,
freaking Schlecht on the
over under 1,000. Sam Vecenie over under 1,000. Maybe that's.
I didn't trust in my guy Poku. For people who don't know, Bryce
so
is bringing
disrespectful.
I went on the Slam and Jam, which is the athletic NBA show with Andrew Schlecht and Alex Spears, two of my favorite people.
Yes.
And we play trivia at the end, and we went to overtime, as Andrew and I typically do in that game. And fucking Poku killed me. I didn't trust in my guy. I didn't trust in him. I should have known it.
Under 1,000 points is disrespectful.
Goodness. It really is. The thing that we didn't talk about, by the way, because I'm an idiot and have ADHD, is two things with the Cavs, right? So we've got the Cavs re-signing Sam Merrill, who's a guy that we love.
Awful.
Yeah,
I mentioned he was not available whenever we were talking about somebody else, but forgot to. Yeah.
Sam Merrill. So is going to get it seems my guess is going to be about 8.4 million next year.
Yep.
And it's going to be what it's a 439, 438, something like that.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that ballpark, 438 ish.
Yep.
And the key is that he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's very good at basketball.
Yeah.
He's a great shooter. He's genuinely probably one of the 10 best shooters in the world, right?
Yep.
Being able to have that guy is a real player. He's a real winner. Again, because he defends too. He really, really can sit down and guard in a way that I think he doesn't get credit for. I'm not sitting here saying he's a plus defender or anything, but he is not necessarily a negative defensively. I think people look at when they look at 6'4" white guy who doesn't, look like he should defend at the level that he does.
Yeah. So Merrill's a guy, again, I actually have a video breakdown. Cavs fans probably don't need to watch it now. No other NBA team needs to watch it. But I was interested in Merrill for Detroit if Malik Beasley ended up not re-signing or whatever. And I know he was in the news today as well. I don't know what's going on there. But it was you knew Merrill was probably going to get less than what it sounds like Beasley initially was demanding. And I was like, this kind of maybe makes sense if Detroit wants to go cheaper. And then what people would automatically do is they would go, is Merrill better defensively than Malik Beasley? And my immediate answer was yes. Malik had Malik had a historic 3-point shooting season last year. And so maybe you could argue that Merrill's not at that level of what Beasley was last year, but I don't have any question that Merrill is better defensively. I'm not saying he's great defensively, but in terms of that one-to-one comparison. So I think on this number, this is a great signing for Cleveland.
I completely agree. I think it's a home run for them. And he's the guy that was always more necessary for them than Ty Jerome to me. Because even though Ty Jerome theoretically had the better season, Sam Merrill is the guy that can play in the playoffs, as we saw in the playoffs this year. There's a reason he entered the starting lineup whenever Donovan Mitchell went out. It's because he can defend a little bit and he can really shoot it and he can play with everybody. I think you can go find guys who can play on the ball. It's really hard to find one of the 10 best shooters alive who can also defend.
Yep.
It's just a lot harder. It's a much more rare archetype of player. So I thought it was right for them to pick Merrill over Jerome, personally.
Sure. Yep.
The other piece of this is the Okoro trade to Cleveland or to Chicago. I'm sorry. I've always thought that Isaac Okoro was going to be able to figure it out in the playoffs in some respect. And again, this is a guy that can play up tempo with Giddey. It seems like they're just really prioritizing. Chicago is going and finding these guys who run up and down the court and are athletic and will be able to get easy buckets at the basket. Look, they desperately need defenders. He's on the same age timeline as Giddey. I get it, but to end up with 0 draft picks for Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball, and then to end up with $45 million of your cap taken up with Okoro and Giddey in all likelihood, or 40, let's call it. It just feels like a really, really tough. It's a tough set of moves, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this was another one where it's just I liked it for Cleveland. I didn't like it for Chicago. Okoro was interesting. He's got to knock down shots, and it just doesn't seem like he's been able to do it consistently enough for Cleveland. Maybe he finds something in Chicago, the pace they play with, that super fast pace. Maybe he really, thrives in that, playing off of Giddey and those guys. I mean, I'm not saying Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland can't pass. That's not what I'm saying. It's just it'll be a little bit different of a role, and maybe he'll find his groove and his rhythm there, because he really can defend. He can be a useful NBA player if he finds the offense consistently.
Yeah, I agree. Davion Mitchell back to Miami. What is it? It's like 220 or so, like somewhere in that
224.
ballpark.
Yep.
It's 224. I think it's about what we thought it would be. We thought it'd be like 220, right?
Yeah, it was a little more. Again, I'm sure somebody will call us on it if I'm misremembering. We did a lot of those offseason previews. I think it was around 30.
I know, right? We have to like try and remember all of them.
Actually, we did 30. We recorded 31 to be exact. Thank you, New York Knicks. Glad we didn't wait to record that whenever they hired a head coach since
Whoops.
The
Davion Mitchell, here's the reason why that was always going to be a little bit higher than what people thought. Davion Mitchell's qualifying offer was 8.7. So I think we said it just would have to exceed that number.
Yeah.
So I think we said 220 and it ended up being 224.
Yeah.
So like this totally tracks to me. It makes total sense.
Yeah. And I think this was built a lot off his playoff play-in game. Like he shot the ball really well. Right. And so
and end of season for what it's
end
worth.
of season.
Yeah. Good for them.
Yeah. It wasn't just, true. He shot 45%. And honestly, Sam, he shot 40% for the season as a whole. He's improved every year in the NBA. I think the step this season will be a little bit more volume for Davion Mitchell, but you know what he brings on the defensive end. And, in that backcourt with Tyler Hero, somebody that defends like that makes a lot of sense.
His final 16 games with Miami, he played 32 minutes. This does not include the playoffs, just regular season games. 12 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, 1.6 steals, 50, 43, 75. And then in the playoffs was even better.
It was the playoffs as a whole. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, it was 15 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds, 61, 50, and then went 3 for 7 from the line. Oh, he was awesome late for them. He has earned this contract, I think, for sure. And very much a player that if I was them, I would want to keep because he's a great fit with Tyler Hero because he can guard anybody 1 to 2 easy.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is a good deal to me. The final thing we have to talk about here before we, the second to last thing, I guess. Malik Beasley is under some weird investigation league wide that I don't know how much I want to dig into right now, just because it's the off season and we're all trying to figure out 95 different things and there are myriad other options across the board. But Shams broke this news. The U.S. District Attorney's Office is investigating Detroit Pistons guard Malik Beasley on allegations of gambling related to NBA games and prop bets. Sources told ESPN serious developments surrounding one of the NBA's top free agents. That is true. He genuinely was slated to be one of the top free agents. I have no idea what to make of that, but it seemed like he was on track to sign a deal with, I would guess, the Pistons. And
I think there was a quote tweet that they were working towards a 3 for 42, which is essentially the non-tax MLE.
Yep.
As I really read into that, I was like, that number would actually mean it'd be a little lower than the non-tax MLE.
342, I can give you exactly why they did that number. 342 would be if you wanted to sign Chaz Lanier to a number that is slightly more than the second round extension.
Okay. So I was trying to think, okay, does this mean they're going under the cap and that's the number they needed to get there? That makes sense. Stay over the cap, but not use the full non-tax MLE so they can give Chaz a little bit more. Okay, makes sense.
Or if you wanted to start it at 14.7 and then descend, potentially would be an option. There are a few different reasons that you can make this work at that number. Let's kind of just run through a few things here to finish. What does this mean for the Pistons? I don't know. I have no idea where to leave the Pistons here.
Sorry, it's hailing at our house, so we're trying to figure out to fix it. Apparently, it looks like snow outside here in June. There is so much
heard
hail.
The hail for a minute.
I was gonna ask you how loud it was. Usually, it sounds. I think it sounds louder than what it is, but it's coming down pretty good in terms of the amount. So I'll send you a picture after we record.
You might not be out on the combine tomorrow. My goodness.
So we farm 30, 40 miles away is where the farm's at.
Oh,
So
yeah.
hopefully it's not getting held
No
out.
chance.
That would be bad. Yeah, I don't know where this leaves Detroit. Like, I don't know what the pivot is. Nah is a name that I've really thought would be interesting. Merrill off the board, I think, is like, Merrill was direct, like, if Beasley got priced out or whatever, Merrill made, like, I would have loved Merrill on that contract for Detroit. So I don't know. There's been some, I was listening to a podcast. Oh, Zach Lowe brought up Santi Aldama and Detroit being interested in him. So,
Sure.
and as we broke down, they are a team that can go over or under the cap. And so it's going to be very interesting to see. But Trajan came out and said in his presser, they weren't going to be looking for big moves, but I don't think that takes any of the names off the plate that we've kind of discussed so far.
I do wonder if this changes their mindset in terms of going over or under the cap. Though.
So that was my first thought also.
Yeah. Like this actually could adjust that because they can get to like 17 plus the room.
Yeah. So that's yes, because going under, especially if they're going to lose Schroeder no matter what, which seems like there's some steam with that. Now going under, you actually open up more flexibility if you're not going to sign Beasley, right? Like now you have 17 plus the room. Like that's 3 rotation. Like you could replace all 3 of those guys with 17 million plus the room in the rotation. And really you only need to replace 2 because Jaden Ivey's coming back from the injury. So that was my first thought as well, Sam, is sounded like they were going to operate over. If this is enough of a something that Beasley is no longer on the table, going under seems to be a little more likely for them. And then it's finding the names and the guys that are willing to sign up, so
I think that's right. I think that's dead on. Final thing here. Masai Ujiri is out in Toronto.
Yep.
So it was pretty well known that he only had 1 year left on his deal. I'm not like wildly stunned by this in the way that like this seemed to take like a lot of people by surprise. Did this take you by surprise?
I think perception for me was still like Masai was held in very high regard. So I guess in that way, just in general. So I guess in that way it did a little bit.
Definitely high perception, but like we've bitched for years about what they've been doing.
You're not wrong.
Like we have real questions about what Toronto is doing on the overall market, right?
Yep.
So I don't know. Like I wasn't mildly surprised. If anything, I'm like a little bit surprised that they're like locking in on Bobby Webster and like the rest of this front office. And like I know some people that are like, I really, really hope that they continue to keep their jobs and everything. And it seems like they are. And like I'm very happy for them in general that they're continuing down this road. But I'm also a little bit surprised by it, I guess, as well. And there's been things written about like MLSE and that's Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, the entity that owns the Toronto Raptors, potentially looking to try and maybe not go as expensive on some things as they have. And Masai is obviously one of the most expensive executives in the NBA. Wouldn't be a stunner if that was kind of the move for them, right? To maybe try and cut some costs there if that's the intel. Yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievable legacy. I mean, he brought an NBA title to Toronto.
Yep.
Through maneuvering for Kawhi Leonard, bringing in Marc Gasol at the right time. Obviously, myriad moves that have been successful, including the Kyle Lowry deal, which to me is the one that really stands out even above the Kawhi deal to me, because like Kyle Lowry is like Mr. Toronto Raptor to me. But yeah, I just feel like sometimes it is time, and I don't really have a problem with them calling time on this one, I guess. And they're saying it was mutual, but like, I don't know, feels like they probably made a call, right?
I always find myself in these situations going, what's next? And so I found myself like, where does does he end up in a front office somewhere else? Even if it's not this next year, or who's he consulting for? Like, do we get the report that he's going to be some sort of advisor or something for another organization? So I find myself a little bit interested to see what ends up happening there with Masai.
Yeah. I think I'm misremembering. I think that he might not have done the Kyle Lowry deal. Thinking back, I think it might have been right before he got there. But regardless, it's really interesting that, he was there forever, man. He was there for 12 years, dude. Like that's a long ass time to be in one spot. Like 12 years to be as successful as he was. Man, that is something for sure. That is really something. And I mean, like, shout out to Masai Ujiri as well, like a guy that has done incredible work over in Africa, bringing basketball to that region. A guy who, like, whatever you think of his success levels over the last little while in the NBA, right? Over the last 5 years, realistically, I certainly have my own questions about that and how this front office is operated. But I mean, this guy should be in the Hall of Fame. Like, I have no problem saying that. Bring a title to Toronto and all of the incredible work he's done with the Giants of Africa program to bring basketball to that region. Yeah, like, please. To me, it should be that guy in the Hall of Fame for sure.
Yeah. Like you said, bringing that title to Toronto and how he brought the team together. It's one of those executives that I feel like everybody kind of knows his name. Like, there's some teams I don't think it's as well known if you ask for the GM or, the decision maker for Team X. Masai is I feel like every
anonymous GM.
Yeah.
Like, the name Masai. Like, that is the reality.
Yep.
So I think that is, now we'll see where Toronto goes with Bobby Webster and some of these guys. I assume they're going to try and continue to compete just because this roster is built to try and compete now. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe it is interesting too that, like, we are kind of coming to the end of that kind of run of guys running front offices, right?
Sure.
Like, Bob Myers is out right now. Masai is out right now. I mean, like, if Philly doesn't go super well this year, like, Daryl Morey is out. You know what I mean? Like, I would imagine, at least that I'm not reporting that, but it seems like there's some pressure on Daryl, right? So we are kind of getting past, like, that kind of era of front office executives, and Presti still stands, obviously, because he continues to thrive. But yeah, it's interesting that we're kind of out of that first little run, and I'm intrigued. And Andrew is here. Andrew asks, I'm once again asking if anyone would like to coach the New York Knicks. Shout out to Andrew.
I think the answer is no. I would coach the Knicks if we can move them out of New York, where I refuse to live. Is that doable? Sorry. I don't think that's going to happen. It is. Not for Andrew, at least. Okay. Super chat time. Shout out to the super chats. From Lawrence Field. Shout out to you, man. Let us now pray to our Lord and Savior, basketball Poku. Pokuism is forever. Forever here. You guys said he won a championship or something, right? Overseas.
He did. He won EuroLeague with Partizan.
Oh, good for him.
He averaged like 4 points a game. Our icon. Shout out to Ron Burgundy 79. Thoughts on the Pacers extending qualifying offers to Isaiah Jackson, Quentin Jackson, and Enrique Freeman today, while still needing to sign Miles Turner. Seems like the Simon family might actually pay the tax. Maybe. I was surprised to see Isaiah Jackson more than anything. Because, like, if I'm Isaiah Jackson in his representation, I am fucking sprinting to sign that qualifying offer. Like, I don't know why they would qualify him. That is he's coming off of an Achilles injury when, like, his entire game was based on athleticism. His qualifying offer is $6.4 million. I don't see any way he gets $6 million on the market. Do you, Bryce?
How much was it?
$6.4 million.
Not off the Achilles.
I don't think so either. I was surprised to see that one. Like if I'm Isaiah Jackson's people, I'm like, you offered it, let's sign. Let's go right now. I'm signing. Boom.
I mean, I think the ultimate test here for them, Ron Burgundy, is do they sign Turner and keep all of Obi Toppin, Benedict
Correct.
Mathurin, Jarris Walker? Maybe these things happen because they know those moves are gonna be made. Although Jarris doesn't. Oh, yeah, the Isaiah Jackson one really, because that's essentially the same number as Jarris. So,
Yeah.
The other thing is they could wait until the deadline, right? And then cut something at the deadline to get under the tax then. So it doesn't have to happen this offseason.
That's right. From James H. Ayton can beat a switch. Mavs sorely lack that against the Celtics. Yeah, sort of. Yeah. It can't be your like primary source of offense, but it's not false that he can beat a switch.
But and I don't know if he's saying specifically for Dallas, but
I think you're saying for the Lakers more than anything.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Speaking of Luka.
Okay, got you. I got you. Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think we're both on board with him, especially if it's on the vet min for the Lakers. Like
from Caps to 10, do you think the Spurs can sign Cornette and Yabusele? Sure. No reason they can't do both. Yeah. I think Cornette, if he's leaving Boston, I think he's going for like real money. I always thought he would give Boston like a bit of a like a hometown, not a hometown, but like a bit of a discount, frankly. The fact that he's not doing that makes me think he's going to get like 8 to 10.
So that doesn't leave a ton for Yabusele, though.
No, it would not. I mean, it depends on what, like how long the Cornet is, how long the deal is too. Like, is it a 4-year, 30 million? Should be like 7.5 then, and you started at 6.5, and you know it rises up, and then you can get Yabu at like 8 right now
on a shorter deal. Sure,
you might be able to do something like that. They can do it though. Like that makes total sense to me to go for both of those guys. I don't know if I would feel like I need both of them, but like makes total sense to go for both of those guys, I think.
Yeah.
Who are the good fits for John Collins from Toph C?
Pull up.
I don't know that I have. I mean, here the problem is he just makes so much money. Like he is like there's a difference between making 19 like Sexton did and making like 26 or whatever like John does. Like Collins is at 26.6 right now. I mean, like I think he'd be great with the Lakers. Like if I was the Lakers, I would love that. It's just like a rim runner, but I don't. They're not going to do it at that number. So it's about finding like the team that is willing to do that. Like, and to me, it's almost you're trying to find somebody who's trying to get off long-term money maybe to do it and then have him as an expiring. I don't really have like a great sense of the team. Do you, Bryce?
No, I'm looking through, the conferences.
Like, are there any, I'm like trying to think of contracts more than anything. Like, is there a world that the Kings would do like DeMar DeRozan or something for that? Just to get off of his money that he has guaranteed next year, which I think is like, I can't remember. There's like a decent amount of that number that's guaranteed next year with DeMar. It's 10 million that's guaranteed.
Yeah, you almost have to go to just the contracts that are still active in like 28, 29, right?
Like, what would it cost Portland to throw Jeremy Grant to the Jazz?
Oh, okay. I see what you're
Or would
doing.
the Jazz just do Jeremy Grant for John Collins? I think it would make them better.
I think if I'm Utah, I would want something.
I would definitely want something if I'm Utah, because that deal is not great. He's owed $70 million after this season, $102 million in total. I would want like significant assets if I was Utah. But like Utah also just traded Collin Sexton with a second for Jusef Nurkic. So like I'm confused on what their goals are here.
Yeah.
That's one deal though that like I immediately thought of, where I was like, okay, that would clear Portland's books even more next year, which I feel like they probably want to do. That's interesting to me.
Yeah, I was just looking at like long-term deals. Like I was thinking like if the Kuminga thing doesn't materialize with Miami, if they wanted to get off Wiggins and open up 2026 cap space.
That's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad.
Is the money close enough there?
Yeah, it's basically dead even.
Yeah.
Wiggins is like 28 too.
Yeah.
But they have bigs already, so like that makes Miami a worse team next year.
Yeah. No, it would not necessarily be a like win move. It would just be a 2026 offseason move, I feel like.
I mean, here's my last question. Would you do, if you're Denver, would you do something like John Collins and Jordan Clarkson for Michael Porter Jr., you know, and like a minimum? Like, I think that Jalen Pickett would work with that.
Isn't Denver's second apron?
They're first. They did not go over the second apron.
Okay, so they can aggregate.
Yeah.
No, I mean, my problem with Denver then is like I don't know what my starting lineup is. Like I know we've talked about Michael Porter Jr., but
John Collins and Gordon probably start together, right? I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying like you clear your books in a real way off the Porter money and you get yourself in a much better financial position.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, because both of those guys are expiring. Clarkson's expiring also, right? Is
Yeah.
that no?
If you're Clarkson is expiring after
Okay.
this year. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For what it's worth, like I think John Collins is not a bad player.
No.
Like John Collins averaged 19 and 8 this year and shot 53, 40, 85. Like John Collins is quite good still.
Yeah, I think ultimately like in a competitive, like I look at John Collins as a really solid third big, like not third center, but like can play 4, can play a little bit of 5, but like needs to be coming off the bench in a competitive situation.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's averaging 19 points a game, being like the second option on a contender, or I don't think anybody thinks that. So like if you can find that role for him, that would make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, again, though, if I'm Denver, I'm trying to like the two things I'm trying to do with depth is like, or I'm trying to do is add depth and I'm trying to like clear the books.
Yeah.
Doing a 2-for-1 deal like that, like adds a little bit of depth. I don't know. That's not horrendous to me. That might be the best one we've come up with is like they get off the Porter Jr. money. They get a guy who can play right now in John Collins, and they get another guy who can play a little bit in Jordan Clarkson. Do you know what would have made more sense if they still had Collin Sexton? I'm sure that this was offered, though. Like, I'm sure that they went down this road at some point. Okay. From the NBA Guru Show, thoughts on Keon Ellis not being extended? Yeah, that was super weird to me. So they've exercised Keon Ellis's team option as opposed to declining it, making him a restricted free agent and extending him. Like, is that just like Scott Perry, like bad front officing, maybe?
I feel like we have consistently seen this organization not value Keon Ellis the way he should be valued.
So for what it's worth, I get the impression that they really like Keon Ellis. From like having spoken to some folks, I think they quite like him.
Then why?
I have no answers. Like this is a very strange decision to me to not extend him. So like they're not so close to the second apron to where they can't like toss Keon Ellis 10 million extra. I will say that like it makes it a little bit tight for if you're trying to do both extending Keon Ellis and doing Dennis Schroeder. Like it makes it a little bit tricky there. It's been reported that they want to do Dennis Schroeder on the full mid-level. So I don't know, man. If I'm them, like I'm trying to do Keon Ellis at like, a 3-year, $40 million extension and kind of going from there. And that's more of a priority to me than doing Dennis. What do you need another on-ball player for?
Yeah. Yeah. And like if you're signing Dennis Schroeder, like, and maybe like, again, maybe this is a missed eval, but does that mean like Devin Carter's just not a guy? Like you're done with that already?
I mean, was it Scotto or was it Jake Fisher that said like they listened to offers for him, which is fucking crazy, but like whatever. But it's a new front office too, like new regime.
Sure. Didn't draft him.
You never know. They didn't draft him, right? Maybe they don't like him. But man, like everything I know about Scott Perry is like he loves those like super tough, football player guard types. You know what I mean? And like Devin Carter's that, man. Like that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, like here's the other question I was kind of thinking about that I wanted to ask you. I mean, like you definitely want Malik Monk if you're a Pistons fan, right?
Yes.
Like I was trying to figure out, like, is that what they do? Like, do they try and figure out a way to get Malik Monk? Can you like aggregate Fontecchio and, Sasser and do like Malik Monk into 8 million of your space?
Oh, go under and then trade for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how I'd feel about that, Sam.
That's kind of a good move to me, right?
I love Malik Monk. I think that's a nice little guard trio of K, J.I. and Malik. Like, I don't think that like assuming Malik is willing to be the sixth man like he was when he was thriving in Sacramento. Great.
I like it. I like it quite a bit, honestly.
Fontecchio and Sasser gets you to like 10.
So it's like 8 million extra or so.
And then you would still have
gets you to 11 for what it's worth.
It would take 11.
Yeah.
Oh, it would get you to 11.
Yeah.
You would still have money to sign one more player plus the room. You could sign 2 more players on top of getting Malik Monk. Yeah.
Correct.
That's
a good outcome to me if I'm a Pistons fan. That's what I'd be trying to do right now. If they're going to do Dennis Schroeder, I'd be asking them about Malik Monk.
Yeah.
Because you know why? Malik Monk's better than Dennis Schroeder.
Does a sign and trade? I know those get funky. Would that just work? Would that make sense?
I mean, you have to stay over the cap at that point.
Just let him sign him then. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Give me that.
Yeah.
Inject that into my veins.
Couple more here. Do you think Russ to the Suns would be a good signing from Prod Snowfall?
Sure. Energy off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think they'd be looking at him as like a starter at that point. But
no.
Yeah, it's got to be like bench. I like Russ in Denver. Like, can we just keep Russ in Denver?
Sure. I think it worked as good as anybody could have thought.
I think so, man.
I took a lot of shit whenever it happened that I thought it would work in the regular season. And I feel like at the very least that proved to be true.
I think it worked. I think it like really totally worked. In Phoenix, sure. Like, it's not a problem to me. From Just a Guy, how would you like Ty Jerome in Orlando? Sure. Great idea. They need another ball handler and shooter and scorer. It makes absolute sense to me that they should go after him.
Yeah, because you go Suggs and Bane, Anthony
him off the
Black
bench.
and Ty Jerome. Like we talked about liking the Jace Richardson pick because Cole Anthony got moved in that deal as well with KCP. But I mean, Jace isn't ready to play on an Eastern Conference contender as a rookie. So Ty Jerome gives time there for him to develop. Sure.
Yeah, and then like a small amount left over from Mo Wagner.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, Sam, like you made by making the Bane deal, you set your window to start now. So you might as well go all in with it. And if you think Ty Jerome giving you some more backcourt depth is the right play with that money, then by all means, because you might as well make your play because you traded all those picks. You go for it now, especially this season.
Final question here, and we're going to stop taking these at this point because it'll be 2.5 hours. From John Zemeckis, who asked this way earlier. Do you consider the G League Ignite to be a failure? If so, why do you think it failed? What could have been done better? I do consider this a failure of a program. I'm trying to think. I have thoughts on why it failed. I'm trying to decide how much I want to dig into this right now. I think it failed. You look at the kind of players that came out of the Ignite program. I think that the kind of players that were inclined to take the Ignite offer were the ones that are aggressively on-ball players.
Yes.
And didn't want to do other things outside of Dyson Daniels, who came from overseas. Most of, like, to me, like, Dyson's the best, best player to come from the program. All due respect, Jalen Green and Kuminga, but I think Dyson's better than both of them. Maybe Scoot. We'll see, right? But one thing that college basketball does do is it puts you in like high leverage competitive games and makes you like think about how to contribute to winning basketball in a way that the Ignite just does not, because the G League is a total shit show. So like nobody cares who wins the G League. The win for the G League is if a player gets called up, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It's not winning the game. I think a big piece of this is like the developmental angle of it, that there's just like not a lot to play for there. But I also think it's like the identification piece of it too, where like a lot of the guys that went to the Ignite program are like the super aggressive on-ball players that probably wanted the ball for the most part and were promised the ball and like didn't really learn a whole lot of like off-ball stuff.
The thing with the Ignite idea is what it really needed to be was like 3 players that were strategically picked every year, not multiple. And then you build it out with an actual team. Like, what did we always, they needed who was the little guard that we always said that the Ignite?
We always brought up our guy, Frankie Ferrari.
Yeah.
Go get Frankie Ferrari to get these guys in order.
That's right. Let him play point guard and create. Give him the type of big man that's going to be a communicator and stuff like that, and help them figure out how to navigate screens. And it was that last year we talked like all of these guys kind of play the similar roles and types and positions. And it just, and the way you explained it, it reminded me of my JUCO experience. And I mean, I love JUCO, but like all of us knew it was a stopgap. We didn't go JUCO to win a JUCO national championship. We went JUCO to get to Division I, and we were all there for that. And it's just different. And then when I got to American, it was completely different, right? Because all of us knew, like at best, we were going to play overseas. So we all had one common goal to make it to the NCAA tournament. And that's how I felt like the Ignite was. And to your point, it made it really hard to have. I hated watching that film that last year. I mean, it was worse than why is the program that Asar and Amin are out of
Overtime Elite.
Yeah.
I did not think it was as bad as Overtime Elite.
No, it wasn't, but it was just like watching Overtime Elite was so frustrating with those guys, and it wasn't as bad, but it still was like, nobody's playing anything here. This is unbelievable stuff. And so I just think the context, I think it was a very fine line that they had to thread there. And I just don't think they like put enough like intentional thought into the roster construction, the player development, what players, all of that stuff.
I totally agree on the rosters. And I don't know if Jason Hart was the right guy based off of what he was running and based off of just the overall like spacing and offense and what it looked like. We'll go with.
Sure.
Jason Hart's a very successful assistant basketball coach in college. Has done a great job as a recruiter, is very well regarded in the Southern California region, particularly in terms of relationships and in turn, like there are a lot of really positive things that Jason Hart brings to the table. I have no animosity toward Jason Hart. I did not get the impression that the modern basketball principles that should have been there were there, I think is maybe the fairest way to put it.
Sure.
And it could honestly, like, he's at Kentucky now. Kentucky's like an amazing fit for him because Mark Pope is there. They have a lot of really sharp, like modern offensive minds where he doesn't have to think about that. From what I know about Jason Hart, like he's really good as like a motivator and is very good at like connecting with players. And that's a huge part of coaching. And like, I don't want to diminish what he's good at. I just don't know that it was the right fit for this developmental program either, from what I understand. So, I think that's all we got here. So I think we're going to call it there. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, Motor City Hoops Substack. Guys, I do have some free agent potential offseason acquisition breakdowns over there. I told you guys about the draft ones, but Nickeil Alexander-Walker, if your team signs him, Santi Aldama, PJ Washington, if he were to get traded. So go check that out. I'll tweet them out if and when those guys move to new teams. The Pistons Pulse podcast. Also, guys, like I was like just looking at the numbers. We have like 75,000 just YouTube views of the 2 nights of the draft. I was like quickly looking. Our 30 offseason previews, Sam, probably have like 200,000 views between all 30 of them. Just absolutely ridiculous stuff that is kind of overwhelming. And I just know we really appreciate your guys' engagement and support of the podcast. So please like, subscribe, share, all of that. Continue to do what you're doing because it means a lot to us.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys so much for coming to hang out on the show, for coming to, enjoy these live streams with us, for certainly continuing to be a part of the community here between the podcast feed and the online streams. Like just the draft shows alone did well over 100 total, like between everything. So, so we're so grateful and so appreciative of everybody that comes and enjoys the show and like rocks with us at all. And we need to get through summer league here and get through the off season. We're going to try and do some different things here coming up this summer. GMAC and I and Bryce will be involved obviously as well. We're kind of starting to like plan some things here moving forward. So we appreciate you guys immensely. Go to The Athletic as well. Keep me employed over there. We whole lot of draft coverage. I wrote, I think 12,000 words of NBA team by team draft grades. A truly insane thing that I do every year where my brain feels like it wants to die. And yet I continue to write through it and figure it out after having streamed for Bryce. What we streamed for those 2 days?
7 hours?
7 hours total. And then in between rounds 1 and 2, I think I wrote probably an additional 7,000 words. So yeah, those team by team grades, please go read those, because we have a lot of fun doing those. My brain doesn't. Literally on the Saturday, I think that Bryce and Andrew texted the group chat like a dozen times, and I was just like, I can't do this right now. Like my body was just like, no chance, guys. Sorry, can't do this. So yeah, go to The Athletic. The thing that went up today is the 2026 NBA draft, like mock draft, right? We're so early. These things are silly on some level, but I wrote them, obviously, right? So go please see what we have going. Big thing for me this offseason is going to be continuing just to kind of, get ahead of those classes and be able to be in a good spot once we start to roll there. But we have some things exciting things, goodness, that are planned here moving forward. We will be back tomorrow, whether it's Bryce and I, whether it's Andrew and I, who knows? We will be back. I will not go hit golf balls in the morning tomorrow. So we will not be as late tomorrow as we were today. So we will, I think that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. Yeah. I drilled what? I think I shot like 78 or 79 on a simulator course in Arizona, and then like 85. I played St. Andrews just for fun on the simulator, and it's like 85 or something. Not a great round, but what can you do? It was fun. It's a good time. Bryce, I appreciate you as always. We will be back tomorrow, either Bryce and I or Andrew and I. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.